Awesome. Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show viewers, comments and questions live. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. It's all begun. Right, fabulous. Yeah, thank you all for joining us on this wonderful, bright and cheery Monday afternoon, Monday the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to all of our American friends.
Indeed, happy Day of Independence.
From
Us.
Yay!
You're better off. You know that. We don't need you to tell us to tell you that. Far better off.
And from aliens.
Yes. Don't talk about aliens.
Yep, never forget that.
Someone will get angry. You start talking about the paranormal, Daniel.
That was a great film.
Actually,
I love that film.
The aliens aren't paranormal, are they? They're just different.
Yeah, extra normal.
It's a tangential beginning, as always. Hopefully you can hear us and see us and everything is groovy. Hey, from Ottawa, Canada, says Jean-Laurie Beaumont. Or indeed Beaumont. Hello from the Great Lakes region, says Bruce Nows. Ends of Legs, play that funky click track. Yeah, I think I've turned it off now.
We'll see, yeah.
You'll be pleased to know. Yeah, big love from Teesside, says Byron's Krause's Big Dog. Yeah, good.
Lovely.
Dino Guitar Guy, afternoon from Bournemouth. Aliens and all.
Very nice. I was down at Southampton yesterday, actually.
Ah.
Which isn't too far from Bournemouth. Bournemouth, I used to play down there loads. And I used to want to live down there. It's so lovely.
It's nice, Bournemouth.
Very
yes.
nice, Bournemouth.
My wife grew up in Poole, which is a conurbation with Bournemouth.
A what?
Two cities joined together.
Oh, okay.
Two towns joined together.
Twinned. Paired.
No, just physically joined.
Oh, they're next to each other?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought Poole was next to Brighton.
No.
What am I thinking of?
Not Poole.
Not Poole. Not
Hove.
Poole. Hove.
Yeah.
Hove.
Yeah, well, this is how it is. If you're new, don't be surprised. We do this every Monday. We prioritise the super chats. There's a lot in already, so I shall be turning it off very soon.
Yep.
No
Andy with us today. Sorry for that, but he can't be with us every week.
We've let him go to his new mum and dad.
Yes. It makes us sad. Andy, we missed you. But we do have Andy, the show that we did with Andy will be out this Friday. Some warning about the show that happened with Andy. There was a point where he played something and I did shed a tear and had to...
I'm going to leave as much of that in the edit as I possibly
Okay,
can. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
it had been a massive week and I was sort of a bit run down. But I felt great. And then Andy just played something and it just tore me to pieces. And then... Mick said, I have listened to this and just had listened back to the audio from it. And out of nowhere, Mick starts playing that section. I'm like, oh my word! How does he do that?
It's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, so don't miss this Friday's show.
Yeah, the guitar sounds
Honestly.
are just insane and I'm very grateful that we were able to capture them.
Yeah.
It just sort of came together. So, yeah, Andy on Friday.
Yeah.
Right, meantime, patrons. Thank you, patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
July's pedal giveaway has just gone live or is about to just go live, so please check your inbox. It is a Love Pedal Amp 11.
Very
Nice dual overdrive there from my own personal collection.
Mick's private reserve.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I bought it used on eBay many moons ago and I am now giving it to a patron. Experience days. Okay, after a lot of requests, new dates are coming later this week. We've added some more dates for this year and quite a few for next year. So experience days, if you're interested, keep an eye on your email. And when that email pops into your box, as it were, you'll be able to sign up for the updates. Let's start again, shall we? Go to thatpedalshow.com, sign up for updates, experience day updates. And then what that means is when we announce the dates, you'll be the first to hear about them.
Indeed. Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to do one thing at once and it's not working. I never was good at monotasking.
Very good. Very good.
Might knock us down.
Let's say our Paul Matulovic is on. Hi, Paul. Christian Hanley. Hello from Philadelphia.
Ah.
Because we have the spreadable cheese. Stanislav Polomak. Hi from Serbia.
Ah, that's our second Stanislav.
Wow,
We have
fantastic.
Stanislav Migra as well.
Thank you for joining us.
Nice.
Scott Gaylor says, let's get Robert Keeley on the show. We absolutely will as soon as we are in the same vicinity.
Yeah, we need
What
to
a
be in the
wonderful
same.
guy. He was on TV in America
Was he?
last week. He was on a news channel.
Right.
And now doing a thing on Oklahoma. Ruprecht. Yeah. It was really, really great.
Nice.
Planet Ross. Happy 4th from Colorado.
Happy 4th to Colorado, and indeed all the states.
Indeed.
Thank you to BV Ninja for moderating today, being in the chat and doing all that good stuff. BV, thank you. We appreciate it
We
massively.
do, BB, superstar. Ralph Lemon, hello from Texas. Loved the Strat video on Friday. So did we. Well, certainly so did I. I am, man, being here in the room, being able to ask Mick questions with those Strats is just like, I loved every minute of it. It was so much fun.
It was good. It was tip of the iceberg stuff. There have been lots of lovely comments over the weekend. Lots of people, just a lot of warmth and kindness saying, congrats on getting the guitar and that. So
It's
thank
a big
you.
deal. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. It's a lifelong quest. So thank you to anyone who's done that. There's also been a lot of utterly humorless.
There's been a handful of them.
Oh man, it's just unbelievable how unhappy some people are. But there we are. I shall try not to let that unhappiness wash on me.
Yeah. It was such a small minority, and most people are like, so happy for you.
I did get quite a lot of direct orders about what to do with the guitars as well, which I thought was helpful.
Indeed.
But then I suppose if you're going to have a YouTube channel and ask for people's opinions, you're going to get people's opinions, aren't you? So we should be happy about that, Daniel.
I agree. BV is saying the super chats now have really stacked up.
Okay.
We got to 9 minutes in, BV.
Okay.
So yeah.
Right, super chats are going off now. If you've super chatted to this point, we shall answer you. If you have not, I'm just going to turn them off.
Indeed. Congratulations to my daughter Olivia, who passed her the written part of her driving exam.
Her
today.
driving theory test.
Yeah,
She's
driving
done
theory
it.
test. She's done it.
Well
She's
done,
passed
Liv.
it. Yeah,
well done, Liv. That's really cool.
Yeah. We're going to start going to an open mic night every second. What is it? It's every second Tuesday. I think there's a pub down the road that does them.
Cool.
So Liv and I are going to pop down. And,
Nice.
yeah.
If you get to week 3, I'll be amazed.
Really? Okay.
I do sound for them every now and again, and it is a bit. You do get a bit bitey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to go in and play some music with her.
Cool.
See how it goes. Be fun.
Do it. I'm doing one with my dad this week in Tame in Oxfordshire.
Oh, lovely.
On Saturday, yeah. They call it Falconbury.
Falconbury.
The pub's called the Falcon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Right. Let us begin.
Indeed.
Christopher Vad actually was first in today, and he says, love that you have your coveted vintage guitars. Mick mentions cognitive bias working in favour of the vintage Strats. I wonder if confirmation bias and associated motivated reasoning is working against Blue.
I'm going to go and have a cup of tea, and I've lied down outside while you take us through.
No, I'm not. I'm just going to answer it very quickly.
Oh, okay.
It might just be, Christopher, that I do prefer the old guitar. It could honestly be as simple as that. After having played them for so long now, as someone who studied a lot of psychological stuff to do with bias, motivated reasoning and all of that, I am aware of these phenomena. However, I am also willing to just say I vastly prefer the old guitar.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be as simple as that. You go to a restaurant, think of a food you don't like. Are you going to order it? No. Why don't you like it? Is it just motivated reasoning? No, you just don't like it.
Yeah. And I tell you, as someone who's been a spectator on the Strat journey, Mick has gone through every possible avenue that I could think to get a great guitar to the point where he was as happy with it as the old Strat.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and we're not saying that every old Strat's great. What we're saying is that particular Strat has a thing, which is incredible. It's like Red has a thing that I've never heard in any other guitar. Some guitars just have a thing.
They do.
You know?
I'm also not saying it's necessarily the best for anybody else.
Yeah, exactly that.
Because some people just really don't like them. So I'm not trying to... I'm not asking you to believe me it's a great guitar. I'm saying I like it.
There you go.
And there's quite a big difference between trying to get someone to believe that it's a great guitar and me just saying I like it.
Yep. The fill button says I like it because I like it.
Yeah.
And that's perfect.
Yeah.
Very good. I'm back on coffee. Enjoying my coffee journey.
It's working for you, isn't it?
Flipping awesome.
Dan likes the coffee. Right, let's get in to the chat du super. Which French people will be laughing at right now. Ran's there. Hello, Ran. It's
Hey, Ran.
always good to hear from you. He says, edges of toe. No. Yeah. What a show on Friday. Daniel's face when that first high gain chord on the 61 bloomed will never be forgotten. All the tones.
How can you not? Anyone that's been to an experience day and has heard the Strat's gone, you know, be in a room with Mick when he's playing that guitar.
Lots of nice comments for you playing, Daniel.
Oh, just flapping around on the Strat. It's lovely.
I think people are happy with the difference and the kind of, you know, to hear it in a different environment. I think people really appreciate that.
Well,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's, man, you know, what a joy what an honour to be able to do it with those guitars, you know, flipping awesome.
Yeah, that whole thing is not lost on us, that it is a bit of a privilege to be custodians of these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, flip side of that coin is you just got to get over it and play it. Quite a lot of comments coming in saying, you know, so what are you going to do now? Put it in a case? And I'm like, no. I'm going to have it refretted and I'm going to take it to every gig I play.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's for. It's to play.
Absolutely.
And they're like, are you not worried about it? It's like, yeah, I'm worried about it. But, you know, if something happens to it, it happens. And that's what happens.
Yep.
I got it to play. I didn't get it to put in a, you know, box and leave to somebody. I got it to play.
Indeed.
So, yeah. Eagle Ray Rob.
Hey,
Hello,
mate.
Rob. Loved the Strats on Friday, but the 61 was my fave. It never lost detail or clarity, even overdriven. The high end was never harsh, like the magic found in Dumbles. Love to hear the 61 through the Mesa Dual, mono, EV combo, or a Dumble steel string singer, as would I. Thank you. It does sound really great through that rig. You'll get to hear a bit more of that rig a week on Friday. So this Friday coming up is Andy Timmons, and then a week on Friday is a new show we've done with Simon Jarrett of Kingsley Pedals and Amps.
Yeah.
Which is astonishing for a couple of reasons. One, some of the tones are just... I did the audio for that this morning. Some of the tones are...
Crazy good.
Spectacularly good.
Yeah.
Predominantly with Simon playing the gold top Les Paul, actually.
Any excuse to get Simon in playing, if there's any opportunity to do that, we'll do it, because I just, you know, I adore his playing. He's so great. And he understands those sounds so well.
Yeah.
And then when he explains things, like, you know, talking about the phase inverter and those high voltages hitting that phase inverter, it's like, okay.
That's the other great thing about the video. We were having this conversation, and it's going to work well as a podcast, actually. There's quite a lot of talking. But there are things that I've sort of known and experienced all my playing life, and Dan too, which just with some very simple explanations from Simon just plopped right into place.
Beautiful.
Stuff that you probably knew, stuff that you may have read or I'd probably researched in my guitar magazine days, but the information hadn't quite clicked with the experience. And so look out for that, Rob. A week on Friday. Wastel 10. Hello, Wastel 10.
Hello, mate.
Hello, shoe inhabitants. In a scale from 1 being trying to sound like the original to 10 finding a sound you like and feel comfortable to play, where is your happy place?
10, 11.
We mostly play 70s cover rock, he says.
Yeah. So, I'm going to say 11. A really good example of this, and I pointed this out to our guys who are here on Experience Day. I went and saw Mick do a Hendrix tribute thing. And there were a number of guitar players there, and everyone sounded great, and they had the Marshalls and doing their thing. and then Mick steps up for a solo and just blew everyone's mind. It was like, that's it. He's nailed it. He's nailed the tone. And what was the amp you were using?
My 2-Rock.
It's 2-Rock. So it was, at no point was Mick analysing the gear that Jimmy was using and then trying to get those tones out of it. No, Mick said Jimmy's connected with that sound, and Mick wanted to be connected with that sound, and he just flew. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I that's very kind of Dan to say that. However, when we just did the gigs with Andy Timmons, we did Owner of a Lonely Heart by Yes. We did, what was the other solo you played that was really required a lot of shaping? Might have been Peg, might have been Everyone Wants to Rule the World. There was something else you played. Dan absolutely nailed the sound. And obviously the playing. So I think...
I know what you mean.
So I think we want to say 10 or 11, but actually the truth might be 7 or 8 because you've got to get in the ballpark. So to use the Jimmy,
you were using Fuzz, right?
I was using Fuzz.
Yeah. So there's, I guess, okay, no, that's a really good point. It's the spirit of it, right? I did the Owner of a Lonely Heart solo using a Telecaster as opposed to a strap with.
But you got all the harmonizer,
but all that stuff, it's like it was
bonkers.
I think so. Massive thank you to anyone that was at those gigs. It was so much fun, and we've had a lot of questions about the sounds and tones we were using. So I think what we're going to do a show and just a few highlights of some of those sounds because
we'll do a show on it.
Yeah, it'd be really fun.
Not least, I've got to pull my board to bits. So I've got another gig coming up in August, which requires a completely different approach to everything.
Nice.
So we need to do that.
Yes,
let's do it. Need to start practicing. But it was really cool. So yeah, I think it's a great question, Wastel. Dan and I would always, always go for the feel, always go for being comfortable, always go for where you play best, and then if you can build back from there and get the sound there or thereabouts.
Great. Yeah, very good.
Seeing as we touched on a bit of psychological stuff earlier, I think it's both frightening and amazing what the brain will fill in.
Yeah.
So if you watch saxophone and didgeridoo duo do let's see What Is and What Should Never Be by Led Zeppelin, you will hear a bit of Jimmy Page in there because your brain will put it in. Actually, now there's a concept album.
I love it.
I think you should do the Didge for obvious reasons.
So a friend of mine went and he learned to play didgeridoo. He lived in Animal Land for 6 months,
right,
and actually did it properly.
Yeah.
And it's it's just the most amazing thing.
Nobody think I'm hating on Digis.
No, it's really good. And there was a period in where they had the didgeridoo player in Jamiroquai's band, and that was the version of the band that I saw. They can be great.
Nice. So expect that. Dan and Mick's Didge and Sax duo. Swizz871. Hello, Swizz871. Hey, gents, if you could play a song each and a song together in front of a giant stadium crowd and the perfect backing band, what would the songs be and what guitar rig would you use?
Boy, oh boy. That's a really good question. The songs we played were great. My issue was they're just right at the top of our range, so we'd need to work a bit harder on the vocals. So it would be more of a vocal consideration for me. Man.
That's a tough one.
It's a really tough one.
There's so many great songs.
I'd love to do... there's an amazing live version of America with the most epic 2 guitar solos at the end of it. and it's just heartbreakingly beautiful. So
And an apt day to be talking about America. Although, is it a song that's what's its theme?
Two people getting on a bus that are broke and are going to look for the real America, I think, is the theme of America.
A story of hope, is it then?
Yeah.
Not some backhanded swipe.
No. It's beautiful. The one thing that gets me about that song, none of the lyrics rhyme.
Right.
At all in the whole song. And it's this beautiful imagery that just comes over these chords. And anyway, Simon and Garfunkel America. So that would be, that'd be a song. I don't know. It's a really hard question to answer.
It is.
Stadium gigs are very different than a small intimate gig as well, because a lot of the detail is lost. I remember we had a massive bushfire in Australia, and they had a big appeal for it, and they had massive stadium, and then Sting played, and then after that Bryan Adams played. And being a massive Sting fan at the time, I was really excited about it. But I think a lot of the detail over this massive stadium is a little bit. And Bryan Adams comes out, wow, and it's just.
He's awesome.
He's amazing.
There are people that think Bryan Adams is a bit cheesy. I just couldn't disagree
no,
less.
No, man, he was just phenomenal.
Yeah. I want to say thanks to Philip Buxton for reminding me to turn the podcast recording on. I have done it today, Philip. Thank you.
Very good.
We even had a bit of click track.
Yeah, just
to make sure we're there. It's easier to play to a huge crowd, says Scott Gaylor. I see where you're coming from. I think big stage. I've never done a stadium. I've done some big gigs, and the challenges of big stages. For all the talk that Dan and I do about loud valve amps and why you need to get your chest moving and all that, and that, I think all of that's so true for small and medium-sized venues. The game totally changes on a huge stage,
right?
Because you're so far away from everything. You then have to have really good monitoring.
Yeah,
and it's all different. And I think that's why when you get to, I don't know, Biffy kind of size or Muse or those huge stadia filling bands, that's why you've got 412s under the stages.
Right.
That's why they go down the
drummer has two 412s as monitors for just the guitar sounds.
Yeah, that's why they go down the Helix Kemper Axe FX route, because the traditional tube amps are sort of pushed beyond what their natural capabilities are in that environment. So you just look for better solutions to it all. So I get you that bigger crowds are easier because, I don't know, the euphoria of it is phenomenal, but the technical challenges are. All the biggest stages I've ever played, I've never enjoyed it that much, because you just feel so disconnected from the band and there's no feel anywhere.
Sure.
I've struggled with that in my limited experience of it.
Right.
But not that I wouldn't say no to a nice stadium tour with the right band. On the subject of which, my favourite music is the music that has light and shade, goes from whisper quiet to crazy loud, has good vocal harmonies, everyone's in tune, i.e. none of the bands I've ever been in. So something that would take all of that in, and I don't know what that would be. Maybe, I don't know. God, it's impossible. So many great songs. So many great songs.
Yeah, great question though. Thank you.
Yeah. I can't pick a song. I'm sorry. We'd probably pick a Jeff Buckley song somewhere in there, both Dan and I.
Man.
Guitar rig would be definitely the old Strat. Nice, simple pedal board and a 2 rocks wet dry would work for me.
I have my Jamer Matchless and my board as it is now. Never been happier. Yeah.
There you go. Nice. Approaching Nirvana. Robert Jones. Hello, Robert. Thank you for your generosity. Thanks everyone for their generosity tonight. He says, I just want to say how much I enjoyed the Froome gig and then the open day a few weeks back. Andy is an absolute dude, and a big thanks to Catherine too. What a weekend. Glad you liked my LP Deluxe, Dan. So did I, Rob.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Was wonderful.
Early 80s mini humbucker is really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool guitar.
But there was I've tried a few of those guitars and I even bought one for a little while. And every now and then you find one of those guitars that's got a snap to it.
Yeah.
That's got, a lovely, still got high end. It's almost like there's a little bit of compression there, but there's still snap to the high end. That guitar had it, and Neil Finn's Gold Top had it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you find the good one of those, and they're wonderful.
I wonder if that's got anything to do with the maple necks and the fact the bodies were a bit heavier. So the sort of obviously the pickups is going to make the biggest difference, but then all the rest of it is just it's working together in a slightly different way.
Well, I guess I've spent serious time with 3 others of those guitars, and they didn't have it.
Oh, okay.
They were soupy.
Interesting.
And sounded very just didn't have transients at all. As much as I willed them to have them, they just didn't have it.
Yeah.
So who knows.
Andrew Dibble, Mick, a few months ago you mentioned it was a struggle to see what the cost difference in custom shop Strats versus American vintage reissue really bought you. Now that you've had one for a while, has your opinion changed? Yes and no. I mean, I've played many custom shop Strats, like many custom shop Strats down the years, and I've played some that aren't as vibey as either Blue or Transit Van, and some that are much more vibey than Blue or the Transit Van, and I think that's just a personal preference. I mean, obviously it's very easy to explain where the extra cost is, and it's the extra person time that goes into making them. And when you make guitars in California and everyone gets paid properly and has other benefits associated with a job that we would all expect if we had a job, then the guitars get really expensive. So I understand where the cost difference is. It then gets chewier because Fender has to justify that cost difference. So I don't think it would be any harder for Fender to make necks that felt great on American vintage to me than it would on the custom shop.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something in the selection of the timbers. Yeah, I mean, I certainly prefer the gold one over Blue. But as I say, I've played plenty that I haven't liked at all.
Yeah.
And that, that, to be honest, that goes for Squires and Ensenada Mexican Fenders as well. So, still not that confused by it, but I do like the gold one. There's more detail, so particularly in the shape of the neck. We were discussing this after the video. Loads of people said the gold one sounds really snappy,
right,
and has loads of upper push in the upper mids. Well, they're a set of super vintage Klopman pickups in there, so they don't have the Texas Specials in anymore. That guitar, no matter what pickups you put in it, has got snap.
Yeah.
It also has a massive quarter sawn neck.
Yes.
And I've heard it said that really stiff neck with loads of mass in it is going to help the guitar sound snappier.
Wow.
I've heard that said. Is it true? Don't know. So, yeah, Rift.
So it's going that way.
Yeah, sort of that way. Yeah. Quarter sawn's not necessarily a good thing, by the way. Lots of guitar companies insist on it, and it's always sold as an upcharge, but you might not like it. For anyone who doesn't understand what it means, if you look at the end of the headstock, it's which way the grain runs. Does it run that way? Does it run that way? Or does it run that way? Or indeed that way? If it runs that way, directly up and down, that's called quarter sawn, and it just means the neck can be a bit stiffer. Most vintage Strats are either flat or rift sawn. So, but if you look at the end of the headstock and you see loads of lines vertically like that,
quarter sawn.
That's quarter sawn.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Whereas mine, the lines go this way, which is rift sawn. Is that right?
Yeah.
Very nice.
You may or may not be able to see that. But yeah, it is said it has an effect on the sound. If you're one of those people that believes wood makes any difference to sound. Not going there. Iron Wolf 1776. I have just ordered a G3.
Ah, thank you, buddy.
I also wanted to wish you a grand the day we booted the King Day. Now, let's get that puppy shipped, Dan.
Yes. Yeah, well, we've managed to get the waiting list down to a couple of weeks now from 3 months. So, yeah, it'll be on its way to you post-haste very soon. But thank you very much, mate. That's awesome.
I was just having a thought about independence and about how any don't want to use the word sovereign nation because not all nations have sovereigns, but any kind of nation wants to be independent.
Yep. It's an interesting discussion.
Isn't it?
I don't think we can get into it today, but it is an interesting discussion.
It is.
We're going through some really interesting things with Brexit and stuff, and how the desire for that sense of independence is having amazing repercussions.
Yeah.
And again, we're not going to get into it, but yeah, it's an interesting discussion.
Yeah. But it's generally considered a good thing for a nation to want to be independent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Scotland?
I'm going to be so sad to see that happen but you know, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not arguing one way or the other, by the way. I have no opinion. I am not Scots and I know nothing about it, just to be clear. But yeah. Moving on. Steve Mass. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
He says, if I swap 1287s into my tube amp, I expect a drop in potential volume, but is it true that the lower gain of the 1287s means higher headroom and a warmer and cleaner sound? Is there any reason not to do this?
It doesn't necessarily mean warmer or cleaner. It all depends on the design of the amplifier. So what the AT7 is a lower gain valve. So if you imagine that when you your volume control doesn't affect the gain of the valve. The valve gain is set. The volume control affects what passes from that stage to the next valve.
There's some
right?
fascinating stuff on this in the chat with Simon Jarrett next Friday.
Exactly. So imagine that the 12T7 or 12U7 just has a lower, or Y7 just has a lower gain. So yeah, then it depends on how that gain is set as to the effect that's going to have. But I mean, I've experimented with my my J20 because the 12AT7 is a really popular thing to put in the front end of that amplifier.
In V1. Yeah.
I found for me, it lost a little bit of that harmonic content, because what happens is you've got to imagine all the valves as gain stages, including the phase inverter. And with a lot of those amplifiers, it's the way that signal is hitting the phase inverter, like the matches, for example, the way that amazingly massive signal smashes into the phase inverter, and that creates all these harmonics. And without that, just because it's a lower gain, you're not going to produce as much signal. It might be a good thing, it might not be a good thing. It all depends.
And there is no harm in trying it.
No harm in trying it.
The
Absolutely.
good news is that in the vast majority of normal valve amplifiers, the preamp tubes are self-biasing, so you don't have to worry about any of that. You can literally just pull them out and put another one in. Of the same type, it's important to say, so what would they be? 9-pin dual triode type valves, which is what they are. Don't try an EF86 or anything like that. That's not a dual triode, that's a single pentode. So as long as it's of the same type, and there's plenty of information online about that, do it, try it, see what you think.
I had an amazing, years ago, so Simon Law from SVL Guitars, I had an old 2-rock, and he came over one day and we spent hours just A-Bing different valves, and it's like, It's incredible the difference it can make.
I
in your
deliberately
amplifier.
don't go there because that's a rabbit hole.
It is it's a whole rabbit hole, absolutely.
You know, going down the rabbit hole of Strats has cost me a load of money and tremendous sleepless
but
nights.
again, it's like the valves that we settled on. I mean, there's a couple of Philips 5881s that ended up going into an old Pro Reverb, and these old Mullard sort of what do they call them, like military spec 1287s. You know, we're trying a bunch of things, and again, the ones that were really hard to get hold of
Are the ones
were the ones that sounded really good.
Yeah.
You know,
It's all confirmation bias, Dan.
It is.
It's all motivated reasoning and confirmation bias.
It is.
A Line 6 Spider 5 would sound just as good if you had a blindfold on.
Yeah, but only if you were connected the strings from one part of the bench
To the other part of the
without
bench.
a neck. We've got 1,000 people watching us at the moment. Thank
Nice.
you all so much for joining us.
Thank
That's
you
so
for being
great.
here.
Yeah.
So, Steve, give it a try by all means. The one that will have the most effect is V1. That's where the most of the gain makeup happens. And then if it's a Fender amp, as I learned from Simon last week, what then happens is the EQ section then usually fits between that and V2. So by the time you'll post EQ, unless you've got your EQ cranked, V2's not doing as much of the shaping as V1. But try it.
Yep. Eagle Ray Rob says rabbit holes are lined with our money.
Yeah, they are.
That's so true.
Those pesky rabbits. Although I'm there. Having said I'm there, I'm done.
Yeah, no.
And
it's a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, the next one
yeah.
I buy will be a different colour
Yeah.
for that reason only.
Yeah.
And that won't be until probably I retire. So,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, I'm done. In the rabbit hole, found the rabbit, back out with the rabbit.
Okay. Patting the rabbit lovingly.
Rabbit's happy.
Rabbit's happy. Yeah.
Or in a pie, whichever you prefer.
Oh dear.
Good luck, Steve. I hope you get on all right with that. Michael Gilberto. Hi, D&M. The Strat Show and the Hang with Andy on the last VCQ were great. My TPS t-shirts arrived. Yes, play loud. Nice. If you haven't seen our Play Loud tees on the TPS store, that pedalshowstore.com, please go there.
Yeah.
We've decided to remind ourselves to play loud because we just don't do it enough.
No. Indeed.
The latest experiment for me in progress is alternating a high gain, and a low gain dual overdrive. Nice. We really like stacking low gain overdrives. I think something happens harmonically with two devices, and I don't know why that is.
BV's just said you should point out that if you replace 2 to 3 12-8-7 tubes with a T7s, you might burn up the heater winding on the power transformer. That's interesting. So they're drawing more current for the heater. That's interesting. Yeah, I have to look into that. Okay, so disclaimer. Try the stuff at your own risk. But certainly...
It's usually only V1 or V2 you change anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, don't try them all at once.
Yeah. Interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
No. BB says, only sometimes, though, not always. I have to have a look into that.
Yeah.
It's seems to me like a underperforming power transformer.
Yeah.
Let's see.
George Radcliffe. Hello, George. Brief thought for the pedalosophers. Be careful how I read that out. As I resell some decent gear that didn't connect with me, I realise that I understand much more about what does inspire me because of those uninspiring things were there for comparison.
That is wonderful.
You've got to go there to come back.
You've got to, absolutely. You've got to get your hands dirty. You've got to try this stuff out for yourself.
Yeah, you do.
It's so personal. It's so personal. Yeah, it's... Mick jumps on my rig, stuff he doesn't like. I'll jump on his rig, to be fair. Pretty much gives me an existential crisis jumping on Mick's rig. But, experiencing this stuff is the only way to know when something connects with you. When I plugged into the Cogmeister I just went, there's something there.
Yeah.
You could have told me all about it. You could have given me all the specs and all the demos. Until I plugged it into it, I was like, I would have known.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, getting your hands dirty. So what you can do, you can have a... when you start experiencing things, then you can start narrowing things down. And you can say, you know, it's like... I love the Vox thing. I love the EL84 thing. So I was looking at, you know, ended up with a Matchless, which is that thing expanded. I didn't have to go through 1,000 different amplifiers, even though I could and we do, and it's great fun. And I'm still open to the idea of plugging in and going, I feel more connected here. But by experiencing all these things, I've found the things that I'm really drawn towards.
Yeah.
You know, bright, quick.
Quick.
You know.
Dan likes quick.
Yeah. I'm very pushy.
Yeah. That's a great way to do it, George. It can be expensive, but I think there's a sensible way to approach that as well. If you buy used gear and you buy well off eBay or Reverb, you can usually get something, try it, move it on again, as you say, resell decent gear. I guess the problem comes if you're buying a new expensive thing every month and then selling it for a whole lot less. But there's plenty of used gear out there, so you can experience this stuff and not lose anything, if not too much.
Indeed.
On moving it on. We still do. Dan and I still do get stuff every now and again that goes, oh wow, I'd missed that for 20 years.
Yep.
There it is. And no matter how much anyone tells you, you should try one of these, you should try one of these, you should try one of these, you've got to wait for the day when you're open to it.
Yeah. Yep. That's very good.
Yeah.
Punneted Bumhucker says, Dan, please give Red a polish. She looks a bit sad. I'm taking Red home with me because I've just got a fret polishing kit. I'm going to go over at Red and I got to raise the action up a little bit to match my 65.
Yeah.
Because now it just feels slinky to play.
Yeah.
But yeah, give Red a little bit of love. So it was really funny actually, because the 65 to me it's like, it's warm and lovely, but whenever I plug Red in and people still go, ooh, it's still got that bite to it.
It's a bonkers guitar.
It is crazy.
Bonkers guitar. KJ Photo. Bad. I couldn't get to England for TPS and AT. Good. I saw the Brothers Landreth a few weeks back in New York City. Awesome. Live music is back. Cheers from the Big Apple.
It really is. The amount of touring bands at the moment. I'm going to see Midnight Oil this Friday.
How are you?
I got an email from their tech, and turns out Martin Rotzie's been using our gear and
wicked,
and he's a fan of the show.
No way.
And he said, "Do you want to come down and And of course, I'm like, "Can we film it?" It's like, "No, just come down and say hi." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'll be down there." But I probably saw Midnight Oil more than any other band growing up.
Beds Are Burning, that's them, is it?
Beds Are Burning. Yeah. And I mean, they were massive.
Right.
But I remember my brother brought home the album 10 to 1, 10 on 8, that album. And hearing those guitar sounds, and it was like, I'd never heard anything like them before. And they did a lot of, distorted electroacoustic sounds. And just...
He's distorted CE1 guy, is he?
Yeah, and so it's Martin and Jim Magini, the other guitar player, and the way they work together and the songs and stuff, and them live, is just like an absolute powerhouse.
Nice.
And it's their last ever tour.
Till the next one.
Well, I think this is it. So, apparently this is it. So,
cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm popping down to see those guys. I don't know how I got there, but I was looking for a way to get that in there.
Chris Liddell. Hello, Chris. He says, I'm just experimenting with my new Harmonious Monk. Thank you for buying one, Chris.
Thanks, mate.
So far, I'm really loving it. I want it really for clean tones, but I was wondering about your thoughts on where in the signal chain you prefer it.
So I have mine pretty close to the end. Actually, the only thing that comes after it in my rig is reverb, and then not always.
Same.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. If running wet dry, I usually have to do the split before that, so it can create a little bit of a compromise. If you're running it clean and you run your amps clean, it doesn't really matter where it goes.
Yeah.
The thing you want to think about is what the modulation is doing to stuff downstream. So we would normally say if you're using it as an amplitude tremolo, we would usually place that after delay, which the sort of accepted order for modulation is that it comes before delay, but we tend to like it after delay, so that if you imagine your tremolo up and down, you get a quiet bit, it misses the note, it doesn't get delayed. Now, I guess that could happen after, but it's not the same effect. So amplitude tremolo we would run after delay. If you're using it heavy modulation, you might prefer it before overdrive.
Yeah.
But you're running clean, so it kind of matters less, has less, it's less of a big deal where you place it. If you use a lot of gain tones, you might find yourself preferring it before or after, depending on how much gain you use. But if it's clean, it shouldn't matter too much where you put it.
Yeah. And it's rare that you would have that on with other modulations. You know, not obviously, I say rare, not unheard of.
Yeah.
But it then becomes about, okay, gain stages, modulation, time-based stuff. So you can narrow down exactly where you put it simply by trying it before your gain stages, trying it after your gain stages, and then trying it before time-based, trying it after time-based.
Yeah.
That's,
because it's a tremolo, whether it's amplitude or harmonic, those are effects that originated in amplifiers. So I always see it as part of the amp, hence being quite a way downstream.
Yep. Indeed.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good luck. Thanks for buying it. Hope
yeah,
you love
thanks,
it.
mate. It's really
Obviously,
great.
it sounds best with everything at 2 o'clock. That's where I have mine set.
Yeah.
In the minus harmonic mode.
I might be going to see those guys just briefly because we're looking at going to Greece for a holiday.
Nice.
And I'm like, I'd love to pop over to Athens and see them and just, they're such great people.
They really are. They really are. Whit Anderson. Hello, Whit.
Woo.
Greetings from Hopewell, New Jersey.
Lovely.
A bandmate and I stumbled into a two-person acoustic gig, Realm. Both of us lifelong electric players. Your acoustic videos have been immensely valuable. More pedals. Thanks and much love. We should do more acoustic vids.
We should. I'm going to do the 6-month follow-up with my guitar, see how it's come along, because it's just gone. It's just so amazing.
I think specifically in a plugged-in environment as well is such a unique experience, and it's full of compromises and struggles and all of those things that aren't ideal.
You know what we should do? You should come down to one of these open mics, and we should just film getting on stage, and then because I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah. I've got on the gig that's coming up. I've got to play acoustic as well, so I'll have an electric rig and an acoustic rig, so I might be able to do some stuff around that.
Awesome.
Yeah, nice. I hope you're enjoying that, Whit. I know Dan and I both have done our fair share of acoustic gigs, and I always love it. Yeah.
In the right environment, it's wonderful. I think I struggled because I was playing with, it was a rock thing I was playing with drums. And when it worked, and when that low E string is working and going through the PA, and it's awesome. But when things are sounding a bit thin and weedy, so Doug and I went to Singapore to do this gig, and we got there and they had this tiny little PA. I'm like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Because the guy that booked us for this gig came and saw us do our thing with our own PA, and it was like, big and fat and stuff, and he had this thing, this works thing on, and he wanted us to come play for that. So we turn up, and he's bought this, what do they call, like a collapsible little drum kit,
right?
And then this tiny PA. So the only thing I bought was my guitar, and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be really tough. Yeah. So in the right environment, it's great.
Gareth Ware. Hello, Gareth. I've got a question on gain stacking. How do you balance levels on pedals to be able to use them individually and stacked? I find getting a sound I like for each pedal results in too much level boost when stacked. Yeah. Probably the single biggest issue of all in guitar playing.
Yeah.
Is balancing gain and volume.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things are going on here. One, if you measure the transient of your clean and your gain sounds, I almost guarantee your clean sounds are louder. We do it every time we set up to film. Dan will hit a clean sound on the telly, be like, boff. He'll then set up the gain pedals, and we all do it, it's not just Dan, but I'm using him as an example. He'll turn the gain pedal down because it sounds louder. Why does it sound louder? There's more bass, there's more sustain. If you looked at the waveform, it would be a very closely stacked together waveform, not one that's all spread out. Therefore, it sounds bigger and fuller all the time, and your perception is that it's louder. Now, what happens when you get in a band? You get in a band, you play your clean sound, you can hear the transient on the front of the note, you step on your gain pedal, nothing. Literally nothing, because it's not louder, it's a good deal quieter as far as the transient is concerned. So number one, there is an audio, a psychoacoustic effect that's going on. You think it's louder, but it might not be. Secondly, it might actually be louder.
Yeah.
And this is where your playing environment is all important. So I want that. When we do our rigs from the gigs we've just done, the volume difference in between my clean tone, my overdrive tone, and my solo tone is vast.
Yeah.
Absolutely vast. The solo tone is hella loud. And same with Dan.
And it sounds frippin' awesome. So
because it's got to be. But of course, if you're at home or if you're playing in a band that won't really allow that, that is the problem. So yeah, how do you set the levels?
And it changes from pedal to pedal, amp to amp, guitar to guitar, but it all comes back to gain staging. It all comes back to understanding transients, limiting, what happens when you plug, when you put a compressed gain stage into a gain stage that has more headroom and you boost it that way, or vice versa. You know, one thing that I was, you know, because the struggle is real. One thing that I tried to do with my rig is my Laser J runs a little bit warmer, runs a little bit more compressed.
Yeah.
And I tried to balance it that way.
So the amp soaks it up a bit.
But the issue is getting that working properly at different levels is a nightmare, because as soon as you change volume, then everything changes. Yeah. So, the struggle is real, but, gain staging.
Yeah.
Understanding that is the secret to try and get all those balanced.
Yeah. And EQ, of course, what would sound nice for playing at home or whatever is not what works in a band. Some of the band sounds can be downright unpleasant, actually, because as it gets louder, you also need to carve out more bass and push more mid-range. Some of those sounds can be really just actually not that nice in isolation.
Sure.
But they work in the context of a band. Whereas when you're at home, you want probably plenty of bottom end. You want it to sound nice and thick and full. And there's kind of your problem, because you've just got loads of that. So, yeah. But each pedal will have an output volume on it. You could. One of the things you could do is experiment with the order. So Dan and I always have the highest gain pedals first and the lowest gain pedals last, so that when you step on the next pedals, it definitely does get louder. If you reverse that and you put your low gain pedals first and your highest gain pedals last, what will happen is the volume jump won't be as pronounced, because by the time it hits the high gain pedal, there's nowhere for it to go.
Yeah. The same thing we were talking about before in amplifiers, swapping the 12AX7 for the 12AT7, right? We're reducing the amount of available gain and how that affects the other gain stages further down the line. It's all related.
Yeah. So try that. Try the order, and then think about literally that, just balancing up the volumes and the gains to something that's more palatable for you. I think the answer might be swapping the order, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Tim Pavuk. He says, I've got no question, just thanks for the channel.
Ah, you're so welcome, mate. Thank you.
I got my 2 Tweed Blues Juniors wet dry sorted, ditched the Boss Bassman and Deluxe Reverb modelling pedals, and let the juniors be juniors. It's something I've never done, turning it up.
Well done.
Hope you're enjoying it, Tim.
Yeah. Well done, mate.
Requires a bit of a shift in playing style and approach.
Yep.
Because you'll probably hear everything now in a big way.
Yeah.
But it is worth it. It's worth the work, we think.
Yeah, totally.
Nice. Congrats. Chris Groom. Hello, Chris.
Hey, mate.
Chris, your continued generosity is humbling. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
And everyone on here is super chatting. Thank you. We appreciate it. He says, hi, Mick. Hi, Dan. Great show on the Strats. I know it's like picking your favourite kid, which you can. But which one is the one you would keep if you could only have one, and why? All the best, Chris.
Strats? Or guitars in general?
Well, we'll do both, shall we?
Okay.
Electric guitars.
Yeah.
Not acoustic, because my answer is my Collins acoustic guitar. I'd give up everything to keep that.
Yeah. I have to go with red.
Yeah.
And I adore the 65.
Yeah.
I love it. But there's something about this guitar. It's got a lot of DNA in here.
Yeah. It is you, that guitar.
Yeah. Really brash and aggressive and coming in out of time and all that stuff.
It's
just
you.
me.
You make your noise on it.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, that's very kind.
It's tough for me.
Really?
Yeah, I mean it's the old Strat. It's the 61 Strat. Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's the most special guitar I've ever owned, and I'm not just saying that because it's old. It just is.
Yeah. It's been a dream of yours for so long.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It does sound
better
than any of my other guitars.
Because what we get
to me,
what I was going to say, I think,
me.
because when we did the show, right, and it was because we hadn't done that. We hadn't had them all lined up and just gone backwards and forwards, and there was a thing was like, okay. Because whenever we'd played the 61, we'd be looking at each other going, is this real?
Is it just us?
Is it just us?
And we say it every time.
And then we thought, okay, well, let's put them head to head. And there was a moment, it's like, here we go, we could put this to the test. At the end of it, it's like, it absolutely has something that is bonkers, so...
I didn't even make any excuses either. I find it really hard to play at the moment.
Right.
So I didn't say this in the show because it would just sound like I was making excuses. But the nut is gone. It needs doing to make it playable, really. And the frets need doing. They're so flat.
Right.
So it's going to go to Matt at Monty's, who I'm trying to get hold of, and then look out. New nut, new frets. Look out.
Yeah. Oh, my 65 needs new frets. I might get him to do it at the same time. Not at exactly the same time. Do yours first, but
And if anyone is listening to this and is wondering, 6105s I'll have. I don't want vintagey type frets. I want 6105s with some good height on them.
Yeah.
Because I can play them. And then we got a little issue to sort out because I can't get the action any higher than it is.
Okay.
And I need it to be higher.
Okay.
The truss rod, I don't think it's got any more left in it.
Right.
Because I've loosened it off and I don't want to loosen it off anymore. And there's quite a bit of relief there, to be fair. On the bass side, treble side, not so much. So It might be that the guitar will have to have some Stradivarius type
shenanigans.
It might need to be worked on.
Sure.
But as I said, I got it to play, so it has to play.
Yeah, of course.
Eagle
Ray Rob says the 61 is absolutely magical. It is not just you. I can hear the magic even across YouTube. Yeah, and a lot of people said that. One guy said I really wanted to, hate on the 61. He said, I can't do it. It is the most special sounding guitar. And it's like, being in the room is like, I'm like super aware, because I was really fizzy for Mick when he got it, right? Because we've been talking about this for so long, and I'm like, yeah, he's going to get it. And then I was really conscious while we're doing that to, it's got some really magical guitars, and I love the 70s, I'm
really
like, okay,
love that
let's see how we go. And then the 61 comes out, and I'm like, flippin' heck.
Yeah, it wasn't even close, was it?
It was just, being in the room with it, and Mick's looking at me going, it's not just me. I'm going, no, man, it's just unbelievable.
I've been reluctant to say stuff like that ever since it first, came into the building, which would have been in 2018. So, but it also interesting, there's plenty of comments going, well, if you can hear any difference, you're either crazy or I'm deaf. And it's like, well, either of those things might be true.
Yeah.
The point is, the perception on the point of each individual is different, which is why I get so frustrated when people are like, look, you need to prove this by science. It's like, it's totally pointless, because we don't all hear the same thing anyway.
Yeah, indeed.
So it doesn't make any difference what a graph says, because my ears might do 80-60 be at whatever frequency, and yours might do 46, and that's all the other way around. So it's all about perception at the end of the day.
Exactly, but if you think it just comes down to ears as well, I mean, I guess it does sonically when you listen across YouTube, but the way it feels, you'll play, and the input is different.
It's a whole system.
Yeah.
I don't really want to know anything about what happens in 200 years' time, but I would be quite interested to know, if you think about what we knew 100 years ago, and what we could measure 100 years ago, and what we can measure now. Imagine what we can measure in another 100 years, given that technology is on a literally vertical curve. And back then it was sort of like that, wasn't it? 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It was just getting going. Now it is literally vertical.
Yeah.
So all this stuff that we think we can measure, the stuff that we don't know, and the stuff that we don't know how to measure. And I think maybe one day they'll understand it, but we certainly don't understand it now.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think.
Yeah. Riley Ma says, question for Dan. I just bought a Past Effects Chorus Ensemble Deluxe. How does it compare to the CE1 with the same Bucket Brigade chip? Hello from Australia. Hi, mate. So I'm not sure. So the CE1, originally designed for keyboards, has got quite a low input impedance of 50k pot directly at the input. If you're playing keys with a low output impedance, it's fine. But with guitar, what most people did was they would swap that pot for a 500k pot, and it worked better with guitar. Now, when you do that, though, the preamp works differently, and it gives you more clarity, but it distorts, right, when you lean into it. And for me, that is the sound of the CE1, that preamp working with the modulation. I fired up my old CE1. Someone had a clone. I don't think it was a Past Effects one. And I fired up my old CE1 here. And it is the combination of that preamp just punching into that the effect. So I'm not sure if the Past Effects one has the original value pot at the input. If it does, it wants to be fed from like any buffer will feed into that nicely, and it'll sound really, really great. But I'd be really interested in trying out if they've got a 500k pot on the input. So I'll check it out and let you know.
Yeah, we should have a listen.
Yeah.
Jim R says, Mick, will you feel safe gigging with the 61? I don't get involved in psychological time, Jim. This might sound like a grand philosophical statement, but it is true. You take, like with anything in life, you get in your car, you drive to work or whatever you do, you don't think about having a crash. You do all the things that you should do to not have a crash. You wear your safety belt, you check your mirrors, you do all the things that make sure that you can drive that car safely. And it would be the same with taking an old guitar to a gig. You would treat it accordingly, and you would make sure that it was in sight, and maybe you might keep it with you. As for somebody falling into it and smashing a glass across the front of it, I'm not worried about that at all. I don't want to cut my fingers, obviously, but in terms of the guitar getting damaged, other than the neck snapping, which seems unlikely, anything else that happens to it is fine. You know, it's a gigging guitar. But I really try not to get into psychological time too much. We all worry too much about stuff. Take the right precautions. Don't get involved in too much worry.
Yeah. I'm going through I'm getting to the edge of my news consumption for a little while. So I think I'm going to just have a week off that.
Yeah.
Just to give my brain a rest from
being
overstimulated and worrying about all that stuff.
Yeah, you can't watch it. You can't watch it.
I don't
it's
want to
just
stick my head in the
consistent
sand
bad
with it.
news.
Yeah. I don't want to stick my head in the sand with that stuff, but I've got to regulate it a bit better personally and just, you know.
There's a difference between sticking your head in sand and just not consuming negativity.
Voraciously. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you need to know something, someone will tell you.
Yep. That's great. That's really good. I love that.
Yeah. Because
you'll read it on a TPS t-shirt. If you really need to know about it, it'll be on one of our t-shirts.
Because none of it is the truth. And that's not a conspiracy theory.
Yep.
It's just none of it is the truth. It's just somebody's view, and you don't need somebody's view. You just don't need it.
Yep.
Anyway,
cool.
I feel very strongly about that. Tim Lurch is on.
Hey, Tim.
He says, Mick, I hope you still love the 61 after you refret it. Or even love it even more. No refret regret. I'm hoping not, Tim.
That's a really good point, though, Tim.
Yeah, it's a concern when you have any guitar done, but it's currently very hard to play, and I don't love it currently. So I've had most of my other guitars done at some point, and always preferred them when they're done. So,
yep.
I'd be loath to put something like 6100s in it, because I think that might be too much wire for a guitar like that.
Sure.
Even though I've played loads of old ones that have got 6100s, and I've always tend to like them.
Yeah. So I had 6100s put on red back in the original refret video that we did, and ended up after a couple of weeks taking it back to get 6105s put in it, because the difference tonally was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
Couldn't play it.
I'd love to hear what Jim Lill has to say about that, given that the only thing that makes a difference on a guitar is a pickup. Dan's done two things hardware-wise that have been utter shock to me. One is having that refretted, and it was a different guitar after it had been refretted. The whole EQ balance was completely different. And then putting titanium saddles on the 65.
Video of that coming up soon.
And I hear it, right, because I do all the audio production, so I hear it immediately in my ears. And I can't remember what guitar he's playing when I'm doing the audio production.
Yeah.
Because I'm just doing it in Logic or Luna. I don't have visual representation. And I'm like, wow, that's different. And I hear it immediately. So, yeah, we could talk about that all day.
Yeah, but thanks for joining us, Tim. Lovely to see you, mate. Anyone who doesn't know Tim Lurch, he's one of the best jazz guitar players you'll ever see. Go and check his stuff out on YouTube. I had a lesson with Tim not so long ago, and astonishing, just mind-blowingly awesome.
My guitar, I call him my guitar teacher. My friend Chris, who's helping me and coaching me and teaching me at the moment, sent me a text today. He said, "Right, ready for the next stuff then?" And I'm like, "Sorry, I haven't touched a guitar since the gig." I just need to prioritise this. And he's like, "Yes, you do." Yeah. Work. Although I have to say, hanging out with Andy for a week, and seeing Dan's progress over the last year or two is like, okay, I've got to not just from a I want to be that, or it's not like a jealousy thing. It's like the work is worth it.
Yeah.
In whatever direction you're travelling in.
Sure.
And I think there have been points in my life where I'm not sure the work is worth it, but the work is worth it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things about doing the gigs with Andy was we're looking to get him back over, because it was just a dream come true to do those gigs. However, there's that thing. It's like, okay, we put a date in the diary. We have to do the work. We've got to find the time to learn these songs and learn them properly, because we're going to be doing them in front of people. And it was really, really hard to squeeze that time in. However, it comes to the point where on stage and we're doing Rosanna and all this stuff, and it sounds epic, and everyone's, it's like, it's the best thing. you know. And then he
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
on stage and we're doing, you know, Black Knight, and the boys are back in town with 3-part harmony. It's just like
This is what it's all about.
getting that stuff together is, you know, it's still fun. It's still playing guitar, but it is focused
Yeah, yeah.
and very specific.
Yeah.
However, the end result is wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, even just learning the tunes we learned for some of which were right at the top of my ability. So, regular viewers will know, you know, I don't have great harmonic knowledge. I don't have great chord knowledge. So some of the tunes we did were absolutely at the edge of my ability, and doing it has been great
Awesome.
because then now the edge of my ability is a bit further.
But you know what? Anyone that saw you play at the gig would, because you played your bum off.
We all did.
Yeah, but
We all did.
But that it's like at the edge of your ability, yeah. And I think pushing yourself like that
Yeah.
is awesome. But
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying the work is worth it.
absolutely, yeah.
And even if you
Yeah,
fall flat on your face, which I did one night in the 3, it's still worth it. Because that's 66%. That'll do.
No,
It's still worth it.
No, dude. It was like 2% of one song that was like 7% of the gig of 3 nights. So in actual fact, it's like
Yeah, yeah.
0.02%.
So our survey says.
You know,
No, it's all good. It's all good. M. Lim, what do you think makes the 61 Strat sing so differently than your other Strats, Mick?
wish we knew.
Yeah,
wish
I mean,
we could.
we'd
sell it.
join the queue of people who are trying to answer that question, not least a Fender Custom Shop. And if they don't know, I don't know who knows.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what it is.
So
it's
remember,
gotta-
everything matters, right?
Yeah,
and
it's
it's a
gotta-
combination of all of those things.
This isn't science. I've never tested it. One of the theories that was put up a few weeks ago, which I think makes some sense, is I'd always talked in terms of the tonal characteristics that certain things add to a guitar. Somebody said, no, it's not like that at all. It's what they take away,
Yeah.
because anything that's attached to that string is absorbing some of the vibration, or at least it's transferring some of that vibration in a different way. That then creates different harmonics, and that's what your pickups hear. C, transduce, insert whatever pickups do here. There's just got to be something. But then, no, I don't think that can be true. I was going to say there's got to be something about old wood, because people describe vintage guitars sounding dry, and I know exactly what they mean.
Right.
But then there's plenty of guitars that have been made out of old wood,
Yeah.
new, that don't sound like vintage guitars.
Yeah.
What did it sound like in 61? Did it sound like exactly like a new custom shop Strat?
Yeah.
It is said that the Alnicos used for the magnets simply don't exist anymore. They can't make them anymore.
Yeah.
Even people like Ron Ellis say that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm at a point where I don't want to ask anymore, and I don't feel the need to ask, because having tried to replace it with so many things down the years, and now having got to a point where it's like, no, I'm happy with that, and it's almost like I don't really want to know why. And it's not just me, is it? Because if it wasn't true, or if a number of people didn't feel this, I don't think the guitars would hold their value in the way they have. Sure, things become collectible because of their rarity, but it doesn't happen everywhere. Like, no one's going to sell you an IBM computer from 1988 or 1998 for more than it cost at the time, because it doesn't work anymore. Cars, right? Most cars, by the time they're 10 or 15 years old, are junk. Some, classic Mercedes, all the brands you can imagine, they get completely rebuilt from the ground up, and they're worth way more than they ever were new. So there are things but are you saying it's better than a modern car? No, it's clearly not better than a modern car. There's no way a blooming 1978 Mercedes SL is as good as a new one. It's just not. But it does look cool, and there's a bit of fun in owning it.
Sure.
The difference with these things is they're used by the world's top musicians to make all the most successful music.
Yeah,
so they're still used at the top of their game.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
I have literally no idea why that is. Why should that be? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, sorry to go on about it.
Tim Lurch has come in with, I think the secret to finding a great guitar is this: play as many as you can until you find the magic one, regardless of its vintage, then play it a lot for a long time. Yeah, man.
I
don't disagree with that.
No one should disagree with that.
It's great.
Wise words. Yeah, David F. Did it sound great back in '61, or has it improved with age? I don't know. I mean, the chap who owned it, it was Simon's dad who owned it, and he bought it new in '61.
Yeah.
And he toured around the world with it.
And recorded singles with it. And yes. I mean, yes, it sounded great in '61.
Did it sound like that?
Who knows? Yeah.
Don't know. Yeah. Cork sniffing, says Kevin H. Yeah, but if you know anyone that knows anything about wine, they will cork sniff all day long and tell you things that you couldn't think were possibly true.
Yeah.
So
these grapes were grown on the steep side of a hill.
Jimi Hendrix didn't play.
Keep falling over.
Jimi Hendrix didn't play vintage guitar, says Moon. No, he didn't.
No. In fact, when he was doing the Monterey burning.
Monterey. Yeah.
He said, "Give me one of the old ones," and that was the 1964 that he was burning there. So
yeah,
you know.
No, he didn't, and I'm not standing up and saying that. I'm not asking you to believe me. In fact, I wish everyone in the world would just quit their vintage guitars and put them up for sale really cheap on eBay, and we can just get done with it. I'll buy them, and everyone just stop talking about it. That would be an ideal situation for me.
Great.
Just they're rubbish. No one needs them. There was another question, I think, which was more interesting, and it was from it was about, and I'm sorry I can't find it. It was about, can you hear the differences at gig volume?
Gig volume is where you hear the differences.
Yeah, that's the point. You can hear much more at gig volume.
Yeah.
You can hear everything louder, and that's where the differences are amplified considerably.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
I find that, so I've talked about this before. When I was gigging, 4 nights a week for years and years and years, and I had my King of Tone on the board, and I would try other pedals out, and I tried so many, and I'd be at home and I'd put them next to each other and I'm going, oh yeah, I like the EQ in this one. I get to a gig and the DJ's, before we go on, the DJ's like really loud, the drums are, he's doing the test, and I'd have my amps, everything set ready to play, because the DJ would finish, we'd have to go straight on, and I'd A-B them in that scenario, and every single time it was night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day. Yeah, it's amazing.
Swizz871 wants to know, any recommendations for SG pickups? I love Zappa and Iommi, but I'm looking for something closer to Clapton and Harrison. 60s sounds for something different. Thanks. I know quite a lot about Fender pickups. I don't know much about Gibson pickups of the period. One would assume they changed through that period. So we know roughly about PAFs, right? They come out in 57. They're in the gold tops and bursts and 335s and 345s, Explorers, Vs. I'm sure I'm missing something else. 175s, they're in all nice Gibson guitars that don't have P90s in that golden period. 61 comes along, Les doesn't renew his contract, the Les Paul turns into the SG eventually, and I don't know then what happened to the pickups, whether they changed. Fender was going through all kinds of different changes through that period, so pole piece diameter, wiring, etc., etc., and they incrementally changed a little bit. I don't know if that's the case with PAFs, or indeed patent number pickups. They probably would have been by then. So if anyone does know that, please chime in. Harrison's was a 64, wasn't it?
I think so.
His SG.
Yeah.
I don't know about Eric's. I'm guessing it would have been a similar vintage.
The Fool.
The Fool,
Yeah.
Todd Rundgren owned that guitar. I don't know if he sold it. Let's see. So I guess what you're looking for is whatever the period correct pickups for that time would be. The easy answer would just be get some nice Paffer-likes. A lot of the newer SGs I've played have had 57 classics in, and they're different from Pafs in a couple of key ways. So the best of the PAF types, in my personal opinion, are the ones that are potted the least, that have asymmetrical coil windings, and what you then get is a bit of quack and hollow in the sound. Definitely prefer that on 335s and Les Pauls. But with SGs, I've always liked the 57 classics, like symmetrically wound, quite heavily potted pickup.
Yeah.
And I always think they sound nice and strong and really cool. But SG people out there, if you're in the chat and you have more knowledge than us on this, please wade in.
Carl Richards says, Dan, where in Coogee did you live? Did you like any local bands and their gear, like Spy vs. Spy? So I lived up the hill. So if you get where Guitar Crazy was, you keep going up that hill and then over it. And I was just there, sort of up the hill from the race course. And I'm trying to remember where that was. Spy vs. Spy. So the drummer from Spy vs. Spy, a guy called Mark Cuff, I was in a band with for years and years. And he played drums in Spy vs. Spy, but he played a guitar and sang in the band I was in with him, with the Wheelers. The drummer in the Wheelers was the drummer from Icehouse, Paul Wheeler. And that was when I first heard a thin line, because Mark bought the black thin line from the singer of Spy vs. Spy. And that's when I first heard the wide range humbuckers, and I lost my mind.
Yeah.
And this like 70s thin line, just the most phenomenal sounding rock guitar. That into a cranked AC30, heaven. But yeah, some great bands around that time.
Yeah. Stanislav Migra says, what at gig volumes you hear the nuances much better than at bedroom level? Yes.
Indeed.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Obviously, if the bass and drums are going, that can get a little bit confusing. So then it depends on your mix. But even so, that's where I hear it.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, when we play in here, we play at gig volume in here.
Exactly.
So that's how loud we're listening to stuff.
Yep.
So lots of people are coming in on the SG pickups question. David Pepper says Lola Imperials are excellent. Guitar Nut Bulini says Frank Marino's SG 3P90s. Yeah, that's a different thing. Lola Imperial Low Winds are stellar, says JTC. Mick Thurman, Mick the Man is saying just use a good vintage style PAFs. Yeah, that would be, having said everything we just said, that's what I would do. I've actually just got some low wind Imperials for the 335.
Yeah.
Which I'll do over the summer. But
yep. I've got RX4s in my Les Paul.
Yeah.
And with 50s wiring in it now. Yeah. And sounds flipping awesome.
Yeah.
And BV's come back with the Fool was a 64. There you go.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Okay, so apparently there was a difference in the magnet length, says Zero Amplification.
Oh, interesting.
Long magnet PAFs 5960, but can extend much later if they're gold, since they sold less. Short magnet PAFs from 61 to 63.4. Patent number same as PAF through 66 or so. Thank you for that.
Simon Hosford says, Dan, I know Paul Wheeler well. I played with him when I was playing guitar in the Choir Boys.
Nice.
Wow. So this is you.
Oh, we're on the Australian Choir Boys. Yeah. We had this once before.
Yeah.
Mike,
awesome tune.
Mike 2203. Would you consider taking your Strat to Johnny Kincaid to refret? I absolutely would, Mike, but Johnny is utterly stacked.
Sorry.
And I want to go and see Matt anyway for a couple of other things, so I'm going to ask Matt to do it.
Yeah.
On this occasion.
Yeah. John is also moving premises.
Yeah.
And he's just.
But I would trust Johnny with anything.
Yeah.
Literally anything.
Yeah.
So yeah. As I would Matt. At Monty's, they've done their fair share of priceless vintage guitars. So
he's fantastic. He's fantastic.
I'm not worried about it. Good luck, Swizz, on the SG pickups. Hi both, says Pet Moxie. I've got a 68 Princeton, silver face, reissue with a G10 gold. I'm considering adding a 64 custom deluxe reverb to my setup. Yeah, I mean, that hand-wired deluxe reverb is something else.
Oh, yeah.
The reason we don't have one is because if we borrow one, we'll have to buy it.
Yeah, I can't.
And we can't buy any more stuff at the moment.
No. To be fair, our deluxe reverb, when you turn that thing up, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's not quite the same as a hand-wired one.
No, but it does sound really good.
I think that would be awesome. It's a load of money, obviously, because it's a hand-wired job. Your 68 Princeton... Sorry if this is going over old ground. Many of you will already know this. So the 65 Princeton reverb reissue is a modern version of the 65 Princeton reverb. The 68 one is what they do in that 68 custom bunch of mods. So bit less negative feedback, I think, which makes it a bit gainier. I don't know if the actual front end is the same, but it's a bit more urgent in the mids and you can get a bit more gain out of it. And I think that's the principal difference tonally if you boil it down. So what you'll have in the deluxe reverb is more clean headroom.
Yep.
It will be less, it will feel, compared to the Princeton, it will feel considerably more mid-scoopy.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. So together they could be quite a nice pairing because they sit slightly differently.
Yep.
Definitely more headroom in the deluxe. So if that sounds interesting, then go for it. It's a killer amp, that.
It's wonderful. Yeah, really wonderful.
Yeah, good luck. Naganud.
Hey, Naganud.
Love the show on Friday. Now that it no longer has to try to be like a vintage guitar, Blue can lean more into what it naturally is. Excited to see it become the bluest blue it can. Yeah.
That's a really good thing, actually.
My problem is, honestly, after the 61 neck, the custom shop neck, and the 70 neck,
yeah,
Blue just I don't get the same thing from playing it.
And I'll tell you this, like, I've always been fizzy about this guitar, right? As in, it was a pig when I got it. 2,000 gigs later, it's amazing. Mick has never been fizzy about Blue. Ever. His like, yeah, it's okay. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. And it sounds amazing on it. And Mick's always been like, it'll do for now.
Yeah.
It's the Strat he had, and it's the Strat he wielded with great and mighty power.
Yeah.
But he's never been fizzy about it.
No. I mean, it was my guitar. I've done loads of gigs on it.
Yeah.
And I've been with it, so I have a connection with it. But
yeah.
I don't... a lot of people sort of see guitars like people, don't they? Even call them using gender pronouns. They call them she and describe them as women and stuff.
Sure.
And I'm like, I've never ascribed any of that to a guitar. It's a thing. Yeah, I don't see it as male, female, or anything else.
Yep.
I don't want to make it a gender issue, but it's a guitar. It's asexual.
Yep.
And it's an object, and I don't get emotionally attached, or at least the emotional attachment is very easy to break when something better comes along, because it's a tool.
Indeed.
And I know that might sound crazy to say it, but they are tools. They're tools that I love and I sit and look at. But
they're cool tools.
Once you get a better tool, yeah. So I don't know. Somebody did say make it into a dual humbucker Strat. I thought that's pretty cool. But I tell you what I'm going to do with Blue. I'm going to keep it and it will be here. And one day someone will walk through these doors who's like, I love that guitar, and it will resonate with them, and it will make them feel a certain way, and it will help them in their next musical journey, and I'm going to give it to them. That's what I'm going to do with that guitar. But that person might walk through the door, or they might never walk through the door. But
that's a lovely...
That is its future, is helping somebody else in the way that it has helped me.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done, mate. That's lovely.
Yeah. Vibas Patil.
I'm not giving you any of my tallies, by the way. I'm keeping on to all of them. Mick is a much nicer guy than I am.
Hi, Mick. I'm looking at replacing the 3 P90s in my PRS Corinna Custom 22. That is a cool guitar.
Three P90s.
Yeah, really, really cool.
Wow.
They did a whole bunch of them with 3P90s.
Okay.
And this one is a Corinna body one, so even cooler. Did you stick with the Lollas you got back in 2020 on your McCarthy? Also, I'm curious if you tried the Illich noise cancelling system. Start from the back. I haven't tried it. I have heard that it's excellent, and Sir do a variant of that as well, from what I understand. I'm not a fan at all of noise cancelling in Fenders because you can always deal with it. P90s is different, and P90s can be horrific.
Yeah.
And I would begin to think about it if I was playing live a lot, or indeed if you're in proximity to computer monitors, lights at home, and it's just you can't find the spot. If you stood up, it's fine because you can just spin through 360 and you can find the spot. It doesn't help if that means you've got your back to the audience. But normally live, it's not such a big deal. But yeah, recording and stuff. I did stick with the Lollas. They, in my opinion, they improved that guitar immeasurably. It just night and day, to the point where I didn't want to play it before, and I like playing it now. I don't play it on the show that much because of the other guitars, but it's the balance of the guitar, the poise, its kind of resonant peak. It feels much more like a classic guitar to me now than a modern guitar.
Yeah.
Whereas the PRS pickups that were in it, I mean, in the bridge there was a stacked ceramic. There's at least one ceramic magnet in there. It's like, as good as they are for loads of people and loads of people love them, I was never going to love that pickup. So yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend the Lollas. I think I ended up with the standard one in the bridge and the low wind in the neck, and very happy. Very, very happy.
Keith from 5 Watt World is on.
Hello,
Hi, mate.
Keith.
And there's a bunch of people driving, flying up the M4 now, trying to get to your front door. They want to walk through your door on the off chance that you'll give them that strat.
Oh, I see.
See?
Yeah, no, it's not a competition. Well, there's a good idea. There's a good idea. Maybe auction it for charity or something.
Keith likes my hat. He said this is my favourite hat. His favourite hat of mine.
Nice.
I like this hat too. Thanks, Keith.
Nice. I want to be your shirt. I think it's it's an emotion we've all felt from time to
That
time.
could have gone anywhere.
Yeah. I want to be your shirt. Says, hello, Leggins. After acquiring gear all locked down, I'm ready to pedal some pedals on the second-hand markets. Any advice to avoid regrets? Thanks for bringing collegiality, knowledge, and joy to my screen every week.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing selling second-hand gear if you haven't done it before. I used to do a lot of it on eBay. I now do more of it on Reverb. Originally the Reverb fees were a lot lower, but now they've shot back up. So
Still
sort of
pretty good though, isn't it?
yeah, I'd still say it's better.
It's 5%, isn't it now?
I think it's.
I've got a intro. If anyone wants a really nice limited edition Taylor 410E in walnut and spruce, I've got one for sale on Reverb at the moment.
Okay.
Really nice guitar.
It's a lovely guitar.
It's my dad's, and I'm selling it for him. I thought that was just 5%.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Maybe it depends on guitar.
I'm not sure, but I did.
type.
The fees were negligible at one point, and they've sort of jumped up.
Okay.
But
Reverb.com.
yeah, I've had really good experiences buying and selling on Reverb.
Me too.
Yeah. So that's what I would point you in the direction of.
Oh, the boogie rig I bought on Reverb, the power amp and the 212.
Yeah.
Transit van bought on Reverb. Yeah, always good experience on Reverb. To avoiding regrets. Well,
It's really hard to do.
yeah, regret's all about psychological time again. If you want philosophical chat about it, you should never regret anything.
Sure.
You should never let your mind regret anything because it's no good to you.
Sure.
You can't change the past. All you can do is be at peace with it.
Got some some disparity on Reverb fees. But yeah, I mean, however you go, it's going to cost you money to sell stuff.
It might change. It might vary on
Depending on the
price or whether you offer certain benefits
Sure.
or don't know. E&M's saying reverb is 18%. E&M is saying 5%. Yeah, I'm sure it says 5% on mine, but
Yeah, I guess it depends. God American says there are more than just a selling fee. There's the payment system fee and a bunch of other stuff. It adds up quick.
right.
Yeah. So I mean, they're always going to take their commission. Saying that though, I remember, pre those days, and then I'd buy something new and then try and sell it on not as the trading post it was in Australia, and it could take months and months, and you'd end up settling for someone making an offer of a half, or you take it back to the guitar store you bought it from, and they'd give you some, let you trade it in, and then you'd pay commission on that. It's like, man, I lost so much money buying new stuff and then not liking it. So that's the great thing about buying a secondhand pedal is that you might not make money on it, but you're probably not going to lose a whole heap.
Wouldn't lose too much. Yeah.
To make it worthwhile. So look, let's say you bought a pedal for £100, and then you had to sell it the following day, or 2 weeks later for £100 and pay £20. It cost you £20 to try that pedal.
Yeah.
And the reality is that £20, whether you really liked it or you didn't, in that case you wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah.
It cost you £20 to find that out.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can cross off.
Yeah.
Invaluable.
So you talking about guitar dealers? With all due deference to my guitar dealing friends, they must have no heart. Here's how a guitar dealer works. Would you like to buy this guitar, mate?
I would.
It's £2,000. It's actually £3,900 now.
Okay.
There you go.
There's my money.
Thanks very much.
Yep.
3 weeks later.
Yep.
I don't like this guitar.
I
very
don't like
much.
this guitar anymore.
Sure, I'll give you £1,700 for it. There you go, mate.
There you go.
Do you want to buy this guitar for £2,800? Continue ad nauseum for 30 years.
Right. It's reselling the same guitar over and over.
Next week, you haven't got this one anymore. Do you want to buy this one?
I do.
Sure, it's £9,000.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Yep. Here's my cash. And then
Don't like that very much?
No,
I'll give you £4 for it. Do you want to buy this guitar for £10,000?
Right.
If you ever want to be a guitar dealer, that's exactly how it works.
Right.
I didn't pay £9,000 for this, by the way, or anything like it.
Yeah.
JTC, why do I love the 7¼ inch radius on Fenders, and I can't stand 9.5, and yet the 12-inch radius on Gibsons doesn't bother me at all? I'm exactly the same.
Yeah. Is it that I pick up my telly and I expect it to feel like a telly? I pick up my Les Paul and I want it to feel like a Les Paul.
I wonder if there are other things going on.
That's really interesting.
With the string angle and the back bend of the neck, but I think you're more likely
it's
to be
all part
right.
of that experience, right?
It's what you expect.
Yeah,
it's like you like the taste of strawberries and anchovies, but if you see a strawberry and it tastes like an anchovy, you don't want that.
Right.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah. Heston Blumenthal.
Yeah.
That's his whole thing.
Yeah, I'd be like, get out of here. And I think it's so I'm with you though. I don't like the 9.5, can't play it on Strats, but the 12-inch on Gibsons, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem. JRC 4558D, my favourite IC. If it's possible to have such a thing. It's not, by the way. He says, Mick, do you play anything else but the blues? Like, are you into shoegaze or punk or ambient stuff? No, and no.
Yes, he plays loads of other stuff than the blues.
I do play other stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm predominantly blues-based. That's what I feel.
Yeah, but, man, you play melodically, and I'm not saying that blues isn't melodic, but you can... Okay, we have to do this. We've got to pull up the sound that you use at the end of the Rosanna solo. and there wasn't. It was just all like it was so tough and it was so melodic and beautiful. And it's like I hear that. It's like
But it was all the same licks I normally play.
no,
It was all blues based.
Well, yeah, but everything's blues based.
Yeah.
You can bring everything back to it's like pentatonic scale.
Yeah.
What's that? It's straight from the chord.
Yeah.
You know, plus the 11.
Change 2 notes and you got all the modes.
There you go. It's like, you know, it's how reductive do you want to be? Because playing over that sort of groove and those changes, well, a chord,
I
it
played
just
all
sounded
that stuff.
amazing. It's not blues. You're playing extensions and, you know,
Yeah, but I always think of it as blues.
think of how what you like.
Yeah, I do play other stuff, but I that's what I like to play,
Yeah.
and that's what makes me happy.
For me, it's like it's more. When you go into that mode, I hear. What's his name? Come on, brain. Plays a large headstock Strat. He's flippin' amazing. Probably your favourite.
Oh, Landau.
Landau.
Ah.
No. When you go into that mode, that comes out.
Yeah.
So this is awesome.
Along with now Andy Timmons and Joey Landreth.
So
Michael Landau is my favourite guitar player.
So
Andy Timmons has reached that peak this week.
Yeah, from Andy was, you know, I had a lesson with him, you know, and going through stuff, and I'm like, and I worked out the swing thing, blew my mind, right? And he has absorbed so much of that music. He hasn't necessarily sat down and studied it, but he's simply absorbed it to a point where it comes out in his playing, and that's what you've done, and you've absorbed that stuff.
Some
you've
of
written
it,
the same,
yeah.
but enough for it to come out in your playing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a thing that happens.
Well, there's a so with any learning, there's what you know, and the sort of what you actually physically know to be able to play, and then what you know theoretically because you've read it in a book somewhere, and those two things aren't always the same. So I can play a lot more stuff than I know what it is, and what I'm trying to do with my learning is reconnect in the middle.
Right.
So try to understand some of the stuff I play in order to be able to push it a bit further.
Sure.
Not for the sake of pushing it further, but because now I want more melody, I want more variation, which I think is probably the
and it's the same thing for everyone, right? When they
Yeah.
get to that point, it's like I want to be able to do more. You know, when I got back into jazz, it was because I was listening to a lot of jazz. I heard Pat Martino, I'm like, and I started hearing the harmony. And even though I understood, because I studied it, but I never played it. Like I studied jazz and I understood chords and that stuff, but I never played jazz. And it was when I started listening to it, I was like, and I started hearing this harmony, and I started hearing the altered chords, and I started hearing that, you know, the diminished stuff. I'm like, oh, I got so fizzy about it.
Yeah, being able to hear it is the first step.
Exactly,
Because
and
I
to
can't
hear it,
I can't hear that stuff.
But if you listen to it,
Yeah,
you don't. The only reason you don't hear that stuff is because you don't listen to it. When you listen to,
maybe there's an analogy there with hearing the differences between guitars. If you don't do it all day, every day, you're not training your.
And this is something I picked up from Andy. He's like, you listen. One of the most amazing things about Andy, you listen to him talk about music, about songs, and it's where his heart is.
Yeah,
He is the first thing Andy Timmons is as a fan.
yeah.
He is just so. It just lives for it, and it's like
It is
and
astonishing,
and that's what comes out when he plays.
He is a library of music knowledge.
Unbelievable.
It is.
Yeah.
It is utterly phenomenal. Please watch the show on Friday. It's some of the most astonishing guitar playing I've ever seen in all of my days.
Yeah, like I said, it out of the blue, he brought me to tears, and I had to get off the camera. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that back actually. One thing I have definitely absorbed the more I play.
Yep.
Have you ever heard me play anything like this before?
Yep.
Have you?
Out there before.
Yeah. So I've got a load of stuff to learn for this next gig I'm doing, and it's some of it's written by a great keyboard player who knows chords.
Yeah.
So there's loads of chords to learn, which I'm a bit scared about. Anyway, there's one of the songs that starts with that lick.
Right.
And I listened to it this morning, and I came in and I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's... And I could play it without even...
Because you recognise
putting
the
it
sound.
on,
You
'cause I recognise the
major
sound.
nine. Yeah.
What is that? I mean, it must be
It's
be
major
some
9. So you're
modal-
going up. You're going up 1 3 1 3.
Like the
4.
Police.
Yeah. So 1 1 5 4 7 5 9.
So there's a familiar
7.
sound in my head that I can recognise, and then I know how to play that on the guitar without having to really work it out. So
Yeah.
I've got that much.
And that's from listening to it. You didn't get that from playing it. It's like you recognise that sound, and it all comes back to digesting enough of that. So
But then, so back to the blues, right? If I'm going to play that, so I guess we're in B minor, are we?
Yep. Yeah.
And I would put it straight back in with a pentatonic,
Sure. Yeah. And you can keep going up there.
Yeah.
Na, 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 na. Yeah.
Sorry, long answer to a very simple and short question. It's all blues to me, is the truth.
All blues.
Sea
Sorry.
and sky. Phil Upchurch does a nice version of that. Why not Maple? Why not Maple? Says, don't take us to Tonehenge. Dan, take us to Tonehenge with a telly sometime soon.
I will.
It's going to be a couple of weeks. We've got guests the next 2 weeks. Albus Band, Aaron. Listen, we'd love to stand around and chat, but we've got to go sit down in the lobby and wait for the limo.
Oh man, you'll enjoy the question for the pedal in the
Yeah.
for our patrons this week.
He says, so glad you got to do the gigs and last week's Q&A. In regards to the Flying Beast, name your worst bug.
That's a really good question. So, right. As an Australian, I've got a bit of experience with flying beasties. There's two. There's a stick insect that flies. And it's because I was traumatized as a kid. My dad thought it'd be hilarious to stick one on my head.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great. But they fly and it's like this stick coming towards you. But the worst thing for me is just a mosquito. It's like, it's like, oh no. And but the worst part is,
Yeah.
and you're like, no, where is it?
Scott Gaylor says it's a bee because they can kill him. He's obviously
Oh, that ain't good.
allergic.
Yeah, those. Have you seen those? Are they Chinese bullet wasps or something? Yeah. I mean that they give me nightmares.
There's no wasp like a communist wasp, Dan.
But they must. They're perfectly in line. But
Apologies for the flippant nature of that comment.
you see their stings. They look like bullet holes.
Right.
They are massive.
Oh wow.
Because the wasp and bee stings you when it dies, right? Because it's got
Yeah.
one sting, but the wasp can just keeps
Keeps going. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the hornet. The big
hornet. Yeah.
angry wasps. They're not so good.
No.
But I think the worst ones are, like he says, the mosquitoes and the sandflies and the ones that can really, yeah.
Murder hornets. That's them.
Murder hornets.
They're called murder hornets.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. What's that? It's a murder hornet.
I was stung by scorpion in Australia. They're not fun, but they don't fly.
Do you remember when we did guitar breaks and there was all those scorpions in the kitchen?
Yeah, it's like what's going on here?
Crunchy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember being in Beijing, and at the palace in the middle of Beijing. I forget the Forbidden City or whatever it's called, and the massive marble thing, and someone had stepped on what I just said.
A killer murder hornet.
And that, like a big scorpion.
Yeah.
It was flipping massive. I took a picture of it because I couldn't quite believe they would get that big.
Yeah.
And they're just walking around.
Don't think scorpions qualify as bugs, do they?
No, they don't fly. I guess they've got to fly to be a bug. Is that right?
6 legs. I don't know. Scorpions arachnids, or are they something different?
They're something different. Yeah, they're 6 legs. Cicada is another one because they're big and they can, when they land on you, they can hit you with horsefly.
Yeah, horseflies, no good.
Horsefly. When you're swimming and they land on you, go, meh, they're the worst.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for that.
Thank
as
you.
always, Aaron.
Yep. Trip down Amnesia Lane.
Matthew Burl wants to know, do you guys think a treble booster and a tube screamer can work together, or would they cancel each other out too much for it to work?
No.
I think they'd be great together.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
More is more.
Yeah.
Use the tube screamer for your limiting and put the treble booster in front of the tube screamer, and really fabulous.
Well, isn't that what the pedal porn Texas twang is, basically?
Pedal port, isn't that the Cesar Diaz?
It's basically a range master mod, isn't it? I thought.
Yeah, but it's not a dual gain stage thing. Yeah, it's basically a range master, right? That's what he built for Stevie.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is he had that and then into Stevie's.
Yeah.
Sorry, it is. My head is now being pulled out of my butt. You are absolutely correct.
Yes, I thought that's because I was confused as well. But anyway, yes, it'll work great and you'll love it. Fire ants, says BV Ninja.
Fire ants are horrific.
Not nice.
Yeah.
Little lighters trying to go set fire to everything.
We used to go. My grandparents had a little beach house up in Coolum, and we would go fishing all around there, and some of the beasties that would come out, that just the oddest looking things. But I remember, I think it was my sister that was stung by a fire ant, and it was just horrific.
Yeah.
Horrific.
Jeff Rock says wasps serve no purpose. I got a new. So the wasps we have here in the UK aren't that bad, really. They do pollinate.
They do pollinate.
I felt really sad for them. Apparently, when they get cast away from the nest, one of the reasons they go nuts and want to drink your cider, or your wine, or whatever it is you're drinking, or Ribena. They like all fizzy drinks. So I'm told. It's because they've been cast away from the nest, and some physiological change in them means they can't digest their food, so they're going to die. And that's why they're so ravenously hungry the whole time.
Really?
I'm sure I saw this on a documentary, and I just had a newfound empathy for wasps.
Well, I got one of those little electric tennis rackets. Because I feel sorry for them to a point, but when they're flying over my steak, it's like, batter up.
Oliver Hutton, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Oliver says, I got stung by a bee last week. 30 quid for a jar of honey.
Very good.
One of my favourite jokes. Thank you so much, Oliver. David Pepper, lots of people are saying Australia being the land of deadly creatures.
Yeah.
We discounted arachnids. So Australia does have its fair share of poisonous spiders.
I've got some amazing spider stories, but I'll never forget the first time I saw a funnel web spider, and my brother-in-law was poking it with a stick, and he was, a bit of an idiot anyway. But they charge, those big, thick, hairy black spiders, and they rear up and they run at you.
Yeah.
And seeing one run across the patio, it was just like, is terrifying.
Yeah, no thanks. No thanks.
Octopus is saying Australia is basically Jurassic Park. It's pretty.
Here we are all worried about global warming and climate change. All that will happen one day is all the ants will turn to their left and go, now's the time. They'll rise up, eat us all. That'll be that.
Yeah. Cockroaches do fly as well.
Yeah. Oh, I don't like cockroaches.
No.
Still, they're all beautiful all beautiful creatures. Mean Mr. Mustard says, I really like how you sometimes talk about guitars on the Bug Show.
Very good.
The difference between wasps and bees is PR, says DM.
Nice.
Funny. That's funny. Right, sorry. Let's get back to the... Jordan Clement. Evening feet, says Jordan Clement. Evening feet. My first pedal board with a Protein... I'm building my first pedal board with a Protein for drive, HX Stomp for modulation and a Fuzz. What would be your recommendation for Fuzz?
If you're... the recommendation is work out the sort of fuzz sound you're after.
Yeah, watch our 4 Pillars of Fuzz video.
Yeah.
Will be a good place to start.
Yeah, watch that first because fuzz is such a unique individual thing.
Tone bender, fuzz face,
big muff,
yeah, octafuzzy thing.
Yeah,
one of those will tickle you. Quick précis of what those 4 sounds are.
Okay, fuzz face. Think Hendrix and Gilmore.
Yeah, but again,
Gilmore's
tough. Think Hendrix.
Yeah, think Hendrix. Okay, I guess Big Muff. Think Gilmore. But
yeah,
again,
also Billy Corgan.
Yeah, Billy Corgan. White Stripes.
Yeah.
Tone bender. Think David Bowie. Mick Ronson.
Yeah.
He's a great exponent of the tone bender. Those tight fuzzes with a tight fuzz with a humbucker sound.
Yeah. I mean, this is a massive generalization. I always think fuzz faces for single coils, tone benders for humbuckers.
Yeah.
It's not the truth, but it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Sometimes fuzz faces can be just too woolly and woofy for humbuckers, although plenty of people do use them with humbuckers. Tone benders have just got that slightly more tightness in the bass.
Yeah.
They don't tend not to clean up as well, but it depends on the one you get. Yeah,
so lots of different tone benders, but the 3 transistor tone bender basically puts a low impedance, a high impedance input at the start. So basically like a transistor buffer stage. And then the rest of the circuit is varied accordingly, but you don't get that impedance relationship with the input of the guitar that you do with a traditional fuzz face. But it's part of the reason they work so well with humbuckers.
Yeah.
You know, that buffer stage.
So if you had to go out and buy a fuzz tomorrow, what would you buy?
I'd rebuy my Analog Man NKT Sunface.
Sunface.
Yeah.
So Dan would go Sunface, which is a fuzz face type. I would definitely go fuzz face because I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah.
Good luck, Jordan.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
Oliver Boysen wants to know, hi, leg ends. I've been stuck at home with COVID all week.
Oh, no. Oh, mate, sorry to hear that. Hope you're feeling all right.
Thank you for keeping my spirits high. Well, we hope you're feeling better, Oliver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not very much fun at all. James Blessed. No question, just a heartfelt thanks for what you do and for being the saviours of Mondays.
Ah, mate. Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you, James.
Well, you guys hanging out with us on Mondays is a saviour for our Mondays. We love it. It's wonderful.
I always look forward to it.
Me too, man. I plan my day around the drive getting here, and I always look forward to it. It's great. Also, now I'm back on coffee. It helps.
Eagle Ray Rob. Hello, Rob.
Hey, mate.
He says, pick 3 of the following. Mad Professor Supreme, Thorpe Peacekeeper, Tim version 3, Seriatone Centura, Gladio Duelist, Shanks ODS from Vemuram, Prince of Tone. And he's using it with a classic reverb signature, 2-rock, and a Victory V140.
Oh, man.
So you've got some crossover there, Rob. Oh man, that is tough because they are. I mean, every single one of those is a banger.
I guess personally, it depends what I'm going for. I mean, I think the Shanks into that lot will just be incredible.
Yeah, Shanks is fantastic.
Um,
So the Shanks, right, as you will have known because you've got it, is just, it does that simple but brilliant overdriven guitar. It's not too much of this, too much of that. You know, so if we were to take the Centura as a comparator, a Klon, for a lot of people, too spiky, too much mid-nose, doesn't really do anything, too harsh. Used in the right context, a wonderful thing. But the Shanks is none of that.
yeah.
It's just lovely, fat, full, clear distortion.
Yeah.
In a overdrive in a brilliant way.
Yeah.
We
It's
both
basically it's the Vemuram take on the ODR one.
yeah.
But it does really sound spectacular.
Peacekeeper is also spectacular.
Peacekeeper. So the Peacekeeper for me, I could depending on how you use it, could interchange with the Shanks, right? Because you can get that beautiful
Does a great
compressed.
clon as well.
It does, but yeah, because the Peacekeeper is so versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Gladio Duelist is one that I'm always between. I like the Gladio a great deal. It's more ampy, for want of a better word, than the Duelist. The Duelist is kind of a little bit better behaved as an overdrive pedal. It does more of what you expect from an overdrive pedal. The Gladio takes a step towards preamp. It's not a preamp, but it takes a step towards being a preamp. Right. So you can really get it farting within itself, and overdriving gloriously within itself. And in that, it can just get a bit, I don't know, let's use a load of meaningless adjectives, greasier, chewier, just hanging it out there a bit more. And then some days you want one and some days you want the other. Yeah, I don't know, Rob. That's really tough, man. You got some killer things in there.
Mix will be different to mine, which is different to yours. You know, just time spent, hands dirty.
I think what you could do to aid the way you think about it is probably what most of us do when we're listening to pedals, is we listen to the sound.
Right.
Pretty obvious thing to do, isn't it, when you're listening to pedals? If it's in any way possible, try and think about that less and more about which is the one when you turn it on do you want to keep playing? Yeah, that's really good. What makes you keep going? So, and we had Andy here the other day and he was plugging into some different things and you could tell when he wasn't into something because he'd just play a couple chords. He's like, yeah, cool. Plug him into something he likes. He's like, he doesn't stop. Yeah. 4 or 5 minutes later, he's playing something really interesting. Yeah, we're curled up, shaking in the corner. And he's engaged, and he's not really listening to it anymore. He's just playing. And so if any of the pedals, if you find that happens to you a little bit, you get lost a little bit when you plug them in, those are the ones to keep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Very good. Good luck. Very good. Yeah, good luck, mate. Ran's there again. Hey, bud. Ever thought of having Matt from Monty's reproduce your favourite guitar's pickup sets for a signature set like Danish Pete's? I would love me a set of Reds and 61s. Dan doesn't want to take the pickups out of that guitar. I don't want to touch anything. Because you'd have to pull them to bits to see them. Yeah, I don't want to touch a solder joint. I don't want to do any of that stuff. It's just like, no, I just want to leave it. No, I'll just play it. I'm sure Matt could do a great job. However, of all the other pickup makers, you know, Mark Foley, Ron Ellis, Andreas Klotman, Jason Lawler, All the ones I've tried,
Yeah.
none of them sound like that.
No.
And I don't know whether that's the pickups or the guitar or whatever it is. So,
And it'd be,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question, but we're
I
ways
think-
off that, I think.
I think there are enough excellent replacement pickups out there already.
Yeah.
We like with Harmonious Monk, I think we added something to the mix. With D&M Drive, I think we added something to the mix.
Yeah. With pickups, it's like,
I think it's all out there.
I
Don't
agree.
get me wrong, I mean, there's loads of other overdrive pedals that are really great out there, but there's a couple of things we added to it that made it unique to us, and, you know, same with Harmonious Monk.
Yeah.
If there was genuinely something that we could add to the pickup discussion, we would do it, but I don't think there is.
And I truly don't believe by taking this pickup out and putting in your guitar, you're going to get anything like what this produced. That's because I've tried it.
Yeah.
I've been through so many different pickup things, and I've tried this in different guitars and stuff, and it suits this guitar. And I'd hate to give the impression that actually, if you just take these pickups and put them in a tele, it's going to sound like Red.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to do that.
No.
But it's an interesting
thank you for the
yeah,
thought.
thank you for the thought, and
Right.
it's an interesting question. It's yeah.
Right, we need to speed up, Dan,
Okay.
because we've had too many tangents, largely my fault. Craig Dubler wants to know, have you any thoughts on the Mesa F50? I love mine, but I'm gassing for a Mark 535. Is it worth the upgrade for home use and the occasional jam? Hoping to see you gents down under. The Mark 535 is certainly a good deal more versatile than the F50. What I think I liked about the F-Series was their simplicity. And it wasn't full of loads of stuff. And the Mark 535 is full of loads of stuff. So do you need that? Will you use those extra features, and do you think you'll eke out the extra stuff from it? Funnily enough, talking to Simon last week, Simon Jarrett, that show's coming up a week on Friday. He's telling us stuff about amps, and things are clicking into place for me, and a lot was really dropping into place for me personally, where usually the more complex an amp gets, the less I like it.
Right.
And he's saying that's because there's all kinds of coupling caps and
Between the
stuff
stages.
in between the stages
Yeah.
to stop noise, and to do all of this, the whole thing gets too complex. And I did feel that about Mesa's later amps. I just felt they were too complex. However, there's plenty of people that make them sound awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I fell out of love with the Lone Stars a bit, but hearing Andy play them,
Yeah.
you know, it was biblical. It
Yeah.
was astonishing. So I think it's about your connection with it, isn't
Yep.
it? And if you connect well with it and you like it and it does everything you want to do, then
You're golden.
it's really questionable whether the upgrade is worth it. However, if you do want to use some of those extra features that it's got, like, you know, the low wattage modes, Pento Triode, some of the extra switching functionality that it has, vastly more versatile triple channel setup and all that, then you may well enjoy it.
Yeah.
But if the F50 is doing everything you want it to do, another question might be headroom. I don't know what tubes are in the 35. Does the F50's 2 6L6s, I expect, is it?
Right. I think they're all standard 6L6s, aren't they?
No, some of the smaller ones are
EL84s.
EL84s.
Yeah. I know the...
Yeah, they're EL84s. Okay, so it will feel
Oh, okay.
almost
Interesting.
entirely different
Right. Interesting.
in terms of its power amp response.
Wow, what was the Mesa Boogie? It was an 18 watt version and a 30 watt version.
Maverick?
No, the Night. Like the Night Train or something like that.
Oh, they did
Little
a...
heads.
Yeah,
And the 18 watt version I thought sounded flippin' fantastic.
yes. It was the Atlantic, maybe?
Atlantic.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was cool.
Yeah, really great.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, good
with
luck,
that.
mate.
If you can get to hear one, do. Keep Kruangbin. Do I say that right? Kruangbin, the band. In your thoughts, British Airways lost their instruments, and to my knowledge, it's still ongoing.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, those guys are amazing.
From Texas, says Paul Matulovic. Hello, Paul.
I went to a rock climbing gym with my son because he wanted to try it out, and he was halfway up a wall, and I run back to the desk going, "Excuse me, what music is this?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, Dad." But it was those guys. They're amazing.
Yeah. I've still to dip my toe. I should. Okay, well, come on, British Airways, please find Kruangbin's stuff. Any experience with the Fullerton Plants American Vintage reissues from 82 to 85, says David Pepper.
If you could be more specific, that'd be really helpful.
It's an interesting point in their history.
Right.
So it's when Dan Smith arrives at Fender with Bill, whatever his name was, from Yamaha, and they basically saved Fender.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because Fender was going out of business.
Oh, my goodness.
CBS weren't interested. They didn't have an American plant for a minute there, and they had to completely retool. And that's when the Strat turned up and a couple of other things, and they basically tried to rebirth.
What year is this?
82 to 85.
Because I had like the pink HM Strat. Is that's
that's
the Strat?
Slightly different.
But it's still called the Strat.
Yeah, they did that as well.
Right, okay. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was a thing. And so those were the first vintage reissues they'd ever done, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
And they fetch good money because they're obviously highly collectible. I've not played one or seen one, so I don't really know. They were learning how to make their old guitars again.
Right. Fascinating.
Yeah. It's
Because
really...
I guess once the skill set, once the people have gone, where's that knowledge base?
Yeah.
Who's, that's really interesting.
And, if you think back to Leo's days before he left in 65, whenever that was, the next guitar was the better guitar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he took that way of thinking, into Music Man and into G&L. That it was always about improving, and I don't suppose any of them really thought that they'd be looking back to those old guitars to think that that's what people wanted.
Yeah.
Same as Gibson.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Why did they stop building the Les Paul? Because it didn't sell.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Well, and because, anyway. But, yeah, it wasn't wildly popular. That's why they made it Sunburst.
Sure.
So, yeah, no, I haven't. It would be super interesting to see one, because there's a lot of things those early vintage reissues got massively wrong. In terms of shapes, headstock thicknesses,
pickup covers,
all kinds of stuff. So it would be super interesting to see one. But
yeah.
Square Wave Symphonies.
Hello, mate.
Hey, Legends. For the first time, I actually concerned about my gig fitness. I have a gig coming up in 2 weeks, and I just got through 14 nasty days of COVID. I hope my lungs won't let me down during the gig. Much love from Alex.
So first thing that goes for me is my voice, and your voice is the first thing that dehydrates your larynx. I discovered, on Australia Day, I used to do these 2 gigs back to back, and it was super shouty and proper, so it's like, and I remember thinking the day before I drank loads of water, and in the morning I drank loads. I had to stop twice at services for a pee on the way to the gigs.
Yeah.
However, I had 0 issues. Yeah. So keep hydrated, I would say, is the most important thing.
Yeah.
That will really
especially
help.
if you're singing.
Yeah.
I was quite fastidious about my voice at the last 3 gigs, and did loads of warming up. Did loads of exercises, what he said about being hydrated. If you don't sing and it's playing guitar, I guess you might be able to test some of that before, go somewhere, stand up, play the set at volume and see how you feel.
Yeah.
But I mean, we know loads of people with COVID who've, struggled to get back to full fitness.
It is different though when you're on stage in front of people.
Yeah, you get an extra bit.
You get a bit of an extra buzz there.
Yeah. Extra adrenaline.
Yeah, I was feeling it though at like it's like Sunday night.
Yeah,
I was like wiped out.
I had a moment of empathy for anyone who's doing big tours. I mean, you must have to be fit for that.
Oh yeah,
and regime.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How did they do it? How did Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and get smashed every night and like be completely?
Because they were kids.
No, I suppose that's true.
Kids when they were doing that.
That's true.
When you were a kid, you were doing that. Me too. And you could get away with it, but it comes a point where it's like, you know what, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, that's true actually. Although, yeah, maybe. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
Good luck. The Great Dell. What should I get as a third amp that will go with either my Marshall 2210 or my Orange TH30? They don't play nicely together. What about a Fender Pro?
Fender Pro's a good shout. AC15.
So perhaps the 2210 is a 2210 a 50 watt JCM 800?
That's a good question, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Well, it is a JCM 800. It's a 100 watt JCM 800. Master volume. Okay, so why don't they play together? So you've got that very present mid-range in the JCM 800.
Yeah.
Classic Marshall sound of the period. TH30 is an EL84 amp. Orange to me anyway, and by all means disagree with this, have a sizzly overdrive always.
Yeah.
In a great way.
Yeah.
So maybe what you've got there is two things that are quite present in the upper mids, and you want something with a more complementary EQ character to one of them.
Okay.
I'm joining a lot of dots.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I've always liked Marshalls paired with Voxes. That's just me. I like that, that edge. But the Fender thing, I had a Pro Reverb, a 40 watt Pro Reverb that I basically modded to like vintage specs. So it's an old Silverface one. Remove the master volume, change the tone stack and the phase inverter, and that amp would pair with literally anything.
Right.
It sounded amazing. So, yeah, the clarity of the Fender stuff is, give that a go. I think that's a good shout. Yeah,
they do. They change. I think if you haven't played a lot of Fender amps, quite often the sound that you think about is that very scoopy mid-range black panel, clean sound. But get a deluxe reverb and crank it up to 7. It's a completely different beast.
Yeah, unreal.
Similarly, there's the whole tweed lineage of Fenders. You might find a nice tweed would work.
Yeah.
Depends how loud you run them and how overdriven they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Fender Pro.
Yep.
Or a Pro Reverb.
Yep, give it a go.
What else do we like? Most of the Victories.
Oh, yeah.
V40 Deluxe would work. V40 would work. I think they sit quite nicely midway between the classic, what you might think of a Fender black panel thing, and the Marshall early JTM 45 type thing. I think they sit quite nicely in that that world.
What was the Victory combo that had the greenback in it? I remember Guthrie playing through it. I'm not sure if they still make it.
That would have been a V40C or at that point they only did the Countess, the V35C or the V40C. Those are the only two combos they did, I think.
Might have been the Countess. It was a really flippin' awesome sounding thing. You logged out again.
Always.
Man.
Kicks me out. It's like, you are not welcome here. You are not welcome here.
Apparently, David Coverdale has cancelled the rest of the Whitesnake European tour today for health reasons. Todd Roy says vocal warm-ups before and cool downs after can really save your voice. I remember when I was playing loads and I had to start doing stretches, and that really helped because you're on. Don't forget, you've got this around your shoulder for a couple of hours. Depends where you're playing, right? Gigs in Australia used to be 4 45-minute sets, and that's quite common. When I got to the UK, it was like 2 40s. I'm like,
yeah.
What is this really? Then? And all my Aussie mates were going, shh, don't tell anything. It's like, no, it's 2 40s. I'm like, fair enough. Yeah.
Yep. What are your thoughts on putting the amp's foot switch on a pedal board? Says JTS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a foot switch.
If you need to get to it, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, is the answer.
Indeed.
Eric Bernson, do you think that in 20 to 50 years' time, your custom shop Strat wood will age and the craftsmanship and playability will be the equivalent of where the vintage Strats are now? Yeah, good question. No idea.
No reason to think they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
But don't forget, you saying that it's a vintage guitar doesn't really tell you anything. It just, apart from saying it's old.
As lots of people have been pointing out in the chat tonight, there's plenty of not good old vintage guitars.
Definitely.
So, yeah, possibly. I just don't know. There are people that say that they used all the best. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Slow growth timber in the old guitars, and now most guitars are made out of much faster growing timber. I don't know if that makes any difference. Yeah, don't know. It'd be interesting. Well, first custom shop relics came out in the mid-90s, so some of those have got some age on them now.
Yeah.
They're out there. I think the first was the first relic telly 95, 96, something like that. So that's pretty old.
Yeah. Jake Lindsay says, a bar here on Beale Street. The gig is 4 hours straight with no breaks.
Oh my God.
Man.
Blues in G for 19 minutes.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, no thanks.
Big Wave Dave. No question. Hope you're all doing very well. Thank you, Dave.
Cheers, Dave.
We indeed are.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Sweet and heady. Dear D&M. This is an old chestnut.
So the sweet and heady
anyway. How do you deal with a pedal that flips phase in a wet dry rig? Is the first response.
Yeah.
Modifying, or do you use a separate loop with a phase switching device? Is there one only for this reason? I don't want to miss my favourite trem. Best from Germany, from Bernhard.
Yeah, so part of the reason that we made the phase switch on output 2 programmable is for this reason. But if you've got a board and you're doing a wet dry thing, you're splitting it, and one of the pedals is flipping phase when it's on, the best thing to do is stick it in a little loop pedal, and on the output of the pedal, put a little phase flip on there, which you can do with a transformer, or there's a number of different things that enable you to flip the phase, so that when you turn the loop on, that pedal is put in the chain with the phase corrected. Yeah. It's the simplest way to do it.
Yeah, it's tremendously annoying. I spent more than a year trying to do that with my mini vent.
Right.
Flipping the phase back and forth. Oh, it just doesn't sound right. It always sounds out of phase. Stopped using it out of pure frustration. No analog drive-through.
There you go.
So it was out of phase, but it was latency that was the problem. So just check that it's not a digital pedal and it's actually latency that's not your problem. It is actually phase.
Yeah. Well, I did the same thing. I got the Echo system on my board. I've done the software update and everything. Had the looper on because I really missed the looper part of my timeline. And anyway, I was just getting all these issues with phase. I'm like, this isn't right. And going through the manual, there's no talk of it. Anyway, one of the guys got back and says, are you using the looper? I said, yeah. He says, the looper goes through. There's no drive through if you're using the looper. Turn that off. everything
Boom.
came back.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
Good luck. It is really annoying. Mike 2203.
Hello, mate.
And we're seeing you again in November, Mike. It was lovely to see you at the gigs as well. Thank you for coming to
yes,
Whitney.
bud.
He says, "Hi D&M. I have the D&M drive, which sounds great. Can you explain how the pedal works on each side independently with a switching system?"
So, at the moment, in standard operation, there's an in and an out. Right, signal goes in, goes through the two sides, and you can change the order of those sides with a switch in the middle, and then you've got the output. If you want to use them independently, you use a TRS cable in each. So the input becomes the
In and out
for mix side, and the output becomes the in and out for my side. And you use a TRS cable, and then let me get this right. The tip is the send, and the ring is the return on mix side, and it's the opposite for my side. So it just basically separates the two circuits, and then you can do your thing.
There's two reasons you might want to do that. One is, at the moment, you could have either side in either order. So you could have the boost into the drive or the drive into the boost. In order to do that and to select on and off, you've got to step on the pedal and turn them on and off. If you put it in a switcher, you can operate them independently, and you can program your loop switcher to do all of that, so it's only one touch. That's not a massive benefit. The biggest benefit is if you want to stick something in between.
Yeah.
So let's say you want to use the drive first, then you want some delay and some reverb or whatever it is you want, and you want to put the boost right at the end. Well, by having them in separate loops, you can do that in your loop switcher. You can have the drive way down there, and you can have the boost way over there. Whereas in its standard form, you have to have them next to each other in the single loop.
Yep.
So not many people use it like that. Not many people use the TRS functionality, but some people do,
Yeah.
So, yeah. It doesn't give you any new sounds per se. It doesn't offer you anything that's not available on the pedal. It just means you can split the two sides out and use them totally independently.
Indeed. Yep.
Yeah. Paul Matulovic. Paul.
Hello, mate.
He says, non-guitar question. Why do the English, and indeed people across the UK, call a vehicle storage compartment the boot, as we call it a trunk? The only thing you store in boots would be leggings, such as yourselves. That's
funny.
It's a great question. I don't know. Trunk makes sense, right? Because
you used to have a trunk.
you'd have a trunk on the back of the car.
Yeah.
Boot. In the boot. Don't know. Let's see what Wikipedia says about it. Boot. Someone's going to know, aren't they?
Let's see.
Someone's going to know.
Yep. VS Audio is on.
Oh, nice. Hello.
Yes. Hello. Panos. Andrew says, "Damn, I forgot about the live stream again." Well, you got us for the last little bit. Have you found the...
Yeah, okay. So according to one result on the internet, it's because we're old. It's because we're much older than you, or at least...
England?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Actually, no, you were totally around by this point. 18th century horse-drawn carriages. The coachman sat on a chest, which was used to store, amongst other things,
Boots.
His boots.
Far out. Okay, that's
So
amazing.
Yeah, I think trunk
Robert
makes...
Payne called it. He says perhaps it's where people kept their boots.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
There we go. So the American version makes much more sense. What's it called in Australia?
The Space-O.
Bacacaro.
Bacacaro.
Is it called the boot in Australia?
It's the
Trunk?
the beer. The beer place-o. The beer-o store-o. Boot.
Boot,
Yeah. Boot-o.
Yeah. Well, I guess without getting into too much colonial hot water, Australia does have a history with England, right?
It does.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
I've learned something.
Indeed. That was great.
Yeah. In my 911, the engine is in the back. It's only the you have to put your stuff in the front.
Okay.
So I don't know what that's called.
Front of store.
That was a joke. I haven't got a 911.
Yes, you do. You bought it the same day you got your Strat.
Bought your Strat, got a flaming 911. It's all right. It's only a toy RS one. Simon Jose. I will have one day. Catherine and I have said the day we can afford one will be too decrepit to get into it.
But that's okay. I love seeing those people that they've shrunken to the point they barely see over the steering wheel of their Ferrari, but they're living their best life.
I'm not really into cars. I've never really coveted cars, but I would like a 911. I do think that's a beautiful car.
I'm going to buy a Countach one day.
Although on Top Gear last night they were doing trucks.
Right.
And I've learned something about trucks. The Scania 770 the R770 is the most powerful truck of all. And also when I drive to work now, I'm looking at all the Scanias going, is it an R770?
Brilliant.
Yeah, they all did their HGVs. I was quite envious, actually.
Michael Ace is getting older. 911 there, magic.
Yeah, and expensive. Blimey, O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Do you remember Brun, the bridge, with Sega, and Martin?
Sega.
And Martin?
No.
She had the best 911.
Oh, okay.
It's like a 73, 72. Oh, man, what a car. Anyway.
Cars and Depp said Countach is a terrible car to own. I know, that's the point. It's just terrible. I'd be surprised if it even starts, but the doors go like that, and it's got a wing at the back, and
the 13th Duke of Wimborne says on a 911 it's a frunk or a fruit.
Very good.
Yeah. Bless him, Yoshi, who's just retired from Boss. Mm-hmm. Bought himself an absolutely banging 911.
Did he?
And he's all over Instagram with it.
Wow.
He deserves it.
Oh, Elias Blum, did Analog Man show you his Porsches? Yes, he did. He had one parked out the front. Yeah, amazing.
He races them, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Right, Simon Jose. He says, love the new Strats episode, guys. For my money, the 70 was the winner just because of the massive headstock.
I love the headstock. It's so cool.
Tone is totally subjective. Any thoughts on the Electra distortion circuit? Much love from rainy Sydney.
Do you mean the Electra as in the big white one, the MIDI controlled one that we had in the store on the show? So I'm sure that's the one. The Electra, the big white MIDI controlled circuit. No?
No.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, it sounded amazing.
No, he's saying Electra distortion is one of the simplest distortion circuits out there.
Oh, okay, not that one then.
There are a few boutique overdrives based on it, such as the Cop 50 from Love Pedal, Nick Greer, Green Giant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
So Nathan, who was got my tickets to the LSO.
Oh yeah.
He made me a clone of that circuit, and I didn't really get it until I plugged it into the front of over a different amplifier. It's like, oh wow, I have to bring it if you have a play. It's really interesting.
Well, the COT Church of Tone 50 is certainly well loved, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
You've got one of those somewhere.
I do. Yeah, they're really good. Josh Scott's a massive fan as well, of course. It's based on his Chula.
Josh Smith.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, it's really good.
We should have to investigate that.
Yep.
We're clearly skating around on thin ice there. Chris Warburton. Hello, Chris. Nice to see you in Whitney as well. He says, I'm keeping my spirits up. keep on keeping my spirits up, along with my double G&T.
Good man.
Good man. It was nice to see you, Chris, in Whitney. Hope you're doing all right, mate.
Yeah.
That, Daniel, be us.
Okay.
We've gone on tonight.
I think that might be... Is that a record?
With apologies to BV.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Thanks for putting up with us. You're a legend. So just to remind everyone, there are some new experience dates coming up soon. And you can go to the thatpedalshow.com/experience days. The information on the website anyway. Massive thank you to anyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grabbed some stuff. Really appreciate it. And massive thank you to our patrons. And there is this month, the pedal giveaway is from the Mick Taylor private collection.
Yes. Actually, that's
Amp
hard.
11.
That's got the Amp 11's a COT 15.
It is.
Yeah, with something else.
Really cool.
There we go.
Yep, there we go.
As if by amazing... that.
Yes. But thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Lots of people pointing out that a 911 is a totally useless musician's car because you cannot get a 4x12 in the boot. I heartily concur.
Yeah. I told you my
My driver has got the 412 in the van. Yeah, no. I haven't had a car for 2 weeks. It was off the road, and I got it back yesterday, Saturday, and I was very happy.
Is that all right?
Yeah, it's as all right as it ever was.
You didn't have it for a long time, but at least it was expensive to get it fixed.
Yeah, it was a small sensor that does lots of things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have been looking longingly at S-Class Mercs, actually. Older ones. Like a massive land boat.
And you got to turn a minute before you get up to the thing.
All of that.
Yeah.
I reckon you could actually get a 412 in the boot of an S-Class Merc. And a number of dead bodies. Right, let us leave it there. Dan, you want to play us out?
Oh.
Thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
Don't miss Friday's video. It's a banger. Largely me and Dan being slightly amazed at what Andy Timmons can do on the electronical guitar. Have a good week, y'all. Be well. Peace.